On test. You're muted.
Can I start quickly? I just want to say
Sure.
I'm gonna read a headline from uh for on the twits. There's an account called Eric Darty.
Who?
Eric Darty, Daugherty.
Okay. I'm listening.
Doggart,
Oh, Doherty.
yeah, like Shannon Doherty. I think
Yeah.
it's similar.
Yeah.
I don't think these
Doherty.
guys. I don't know if they're related, but he's some kind
Yeah.
of account on X who seems to be quite popular, right? So he writes, breaking breaking news. Prime Minister Netanyahu announces Israel does not need help to reach its goals in Iran. He says they can accomplish their goals
Yeah.
alone when it comes to Iran's nuclear facilities.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. Because Trump has been torturing the Jews with his Witkoffisms for far too long. Okay, I'm the biggest fan of President Trump, but this has been insanity and torture. Okay, and then right before I saw that headline, Trump decides he's going to negotiate with the Iranians for 2 weeks before he decides whether or not any what they blew up a
Sir,
hospital today in the
sir, can I
south
can I tell you something?
in Israel.
I don't think he's gonna do any of that. I don't even think that any of this is serious. I think the whole thing, just like everything that came before this initial bombing was misdirection. I think they're literally playing one giant mi mind game, and what they're doing what Iran normally does to other people, which is smoke and mirrors, bizarre carpet games. And I think that's exactly what Trump is doing to them. That's what I think. And I think that Israel has, yeah, I mean, Israel doesn't technically need America to do anything. Israel has all the capability to do whatever it needs to on its own, meaning we don't have bunker busters, but we have guys there. We can do it from within that thing. The only thing I will say is that it's way more difficult to do that than just to drop bunker busters on them. I heard in general that it may not even bunker busters may not even be enough. You may have to do like a what's called a tactical nuke, which is a nuke that, it only affects the area that you're dropping wherever you're dropping. But again, that's already escalation on a higher level. What I don't understand is like you have these like, again, like the woke right and all these kind of people like, oh, I'm not going to die for Iran. I don't want one soldier on Iranian soil. Who's asking soldiers to go on Iranian soil? You wouldn't even need soldiers on Iranian soil. That's not what
Nobody
we're trying to
ever
do
asked for
here.
that. Nobody
Yeah,
ever asked for that, but they're trying to frame it straw
yeah,
man as if
yeah,
that's the case.
yeah.
They've been doing that before, even though not one American soldier has ever, or any other soldier has ever, fought on, any single war for Israel, right? And they're gonna, and whoever says this kind of stuff is gonna make it seem like every single war fought the Alaskan, Eskimos and the different tribes was for Israel. Tribal disputes that happened 1,000 years ago between the Aztecs and their competing tribes. That was for Israel. That no matter what, they're just stupid animals that just repeat the same stupid animal, like whatever an animal noise, like whatever an animal makes, like a pink goes oink. Those animals go fought for Israel. You know what I mean? Like I don't. They don't matter to me at all. Like they're not even like you want to talk about NPC. That's an NPC. That's truly an NPC. If that comes out of a person's mouth, they're not even in the game. Okay. But to respond to what you're saying, all that, you know, cloak and dagger, you know, mysterious, 5D chess and all this kind of stuff. What's the point of that now? Israel annihilated Iran. All their air defenses, the vast majority of their rocket missile launching capability. um, their entire command structure, all their bases, all of their Air Force, most of their hardware, okay, and they have almost the entire population on their side cheering them on. Like, why would Israel need anything else? If America wanted to get a nice participation trophy, they
Yeah.
could loan one of those B-2 bombers with a nice bunker buster, right? And then they get a nice gold star for participation if
I
they wanted that.
I think the thing
It
is
doesn't
that
seem like they want that.
I think the thing is that no matter who does the bombing, I think that at the end of the day we are dealing with a cornered animal, and if you remember, Saddam Hussein, like usually the enemies of Israel like to do this thing where, if one attacks us, we're going to attack the other one. Meaning, in the case of Saddam Hussein, America, went into Iraq, and Saddam Hussein bombed Tel Aviv. If Israel bombs Fordo, Iran is going to start disrupting. They're going to close the Strait of Hormuz. They're going to start disrupting all this shipping stuff. They're going to
How?
start. They could very easily just close it. They could straight up physically close
No,
it.
they can't. They
They
can't.
can. They can.
Israel now
It's not only that.
control controls Iranian airspace.
It's
What are
it's
they
you,
gonna do?
you have no, they have a navy. They have first of all, they also have, you have to remember, they have also, yeah, the Houthis are still in effect. Also, everybody forgets, there's a country called Bahrain. The country of Bahrain is majority, it's ruled by Sunnis, but the population is majority Shiite. I don't know if there's what is it called? If there's any kind of proxies there or whatever it is. Like Iran has ways of screwing with American assets in that area. I think that every time Trump has a meeting, all these meetings that he's having, these are the things that are in consideration. They don't want to, because they know that, yeah, if Iran, even this crappy Navy with their old ass ships and their old ass planes from like the 1970s, actually American planes, maybe some French, they do try to do anything, then automatically this pulls America into the thing. And then what could happen, I'm not saying it will happen, and probably high probability of not, but it could, is then China gets involved and Russia gets involved peripherally by sending arms. China gets involved in some way. Pakistan can get involved. Like it's a whole bag of chips, really. Um,
I mean, the part about worrying about a response from China or Pakistan and that other stuff you were talking about, that ship has already sailed. Like, they've achieved such military dominance in Iran that all that other stuff, that all those worries that you just mentioned about what might happen should have happened already.
No, meaning they shouldn't have happened. What I'm trying to tell you is that those China and all that stuff, that's already at the end of the dominoes. The first domino or the second domino would be Iran, again, Iran, the cornered animal, scratching and clawing at American naval assets in the area, trying to scratch and claw. I'm not saying they'll defeat them. I'm just saying that if they try to scratch and claw at them, there's going to be a response. America's not going to not respond, right? They're going to have to be
Well,
pulled into this.
I want to explain
That's
something to you.
that's the whole thing.
America has bases and interests everywhere on Earth.
I know.
Okay, and they have some in the Middle East. Okay, but they understand that they're in a hostile area. Okay, where they can't
Sure.
expect Americans can't expect to be walking their dog down the street and let their sexy teenage
Yeah,
daughter
yeah,
go jogging in a leotard without
yeah.
having some problems.
Well, that's one of
Okay,
the things that I said
okay,
in one of my roads. You're
all right.
right.
So
I said the same thing.
I don't listen to your rogues because I'm
Thank
not in
you.
it. I don't care. Okay.
Thank you.
I hope people benefit from your rogues. Okay. But since I'm not in it, there's no benefit to me. And
You would have benefited greatly from the last few. I just want to
nonsense,
say that.
nonsense.
You would have. It's not what you're saying.
No,
You're just
because
saying
your rogues frustrate me because I can't bark
why?
back at you. It's
You
like I
there
have
were
to. It's like dude. It's like this podcast, but like you have the
no,
mute
but the
button.
rogues that the my last few rogues were I mean I can't make any guarantees, but I'm pretty sure there would have been nothing to bark. Uh
Perhaps, But the
At
fact
is
that I
what I'm saying. That's
can't
why I'm
bark,
saying. I
the
mean, why do you
fact
want to
the
bark?
fact
What are you, a dog? What is this like? Pnei
perhaps
Hador, Pnei Kelev?
perhaps just the fact alone that it's almost like you have a mute button that you could turn off my mic at any point. Not having it, Greg.
This is very strange. I
Again,
don't
you
know.
ruined the shtick.
I know I'm not ruining shtick. I'm just going along with
Yes,
it.
you've ruined it. This is well, that's part of your shtick. You ruined
You're
my shtick.
that I exactly. It's a whole shtick. It's a whole shtick to ruin your
It's only
shtick.
shtick because I decided that it's shtick. In reality, it's not. Okay.
You sound
Oh,
like you know. You sound like you remember in Larry David. He had the little kid that was a magician, and then he's like asking him to teach him the card trick. It's what's his name? That little Russian kid that died in the actor
oh,
Anton Yelchin.
yeah.
So he's like, teach me the trick. He's like, no. No, Larry's like, teach me the trick. The kid's like, no. And Larry's like, why? He's like, because only magicians know how to do this trick. He's like, but okay, so how do you know I'm not a magician? He's like, I'm not, I know that you're not a magician. He's like, how? He's like, only a magician can identify a magician. But he's like, but how did you become a magician? You didn't know the trick before. A magician taught it to you. He's like, yeah. Okay, so you weren't a magician before. He's like, no, I was always a magician. A magician identified me as a magician. He identified me as a magician. He's like, I can tell you're not a magician. He's like, and then he's like, you're gonna teach me that trick, kid. You're gonna teach me that trick.
So listen, just on a side note, I've
Yeah.
been wanting to have one of our listeners
Oh
on
yeah.
the show for a long time, and I'm going to say his name,
Uh-huh.
Alex. I'm not going to say his last name.
Okay.
Alex, if you're listening to this, the problem is that we don't determine when this show happens.
Yeah.
We can't schedule a specific time and place
Yeah.
because it's too chaotic. We're
Yeah.
trying to also survive and make money, and so the show has to be done around it, right?
Yeah.
And God knows this show has nothing to do with making money, right? So therefore, we can't schedule it or justify it at a particular time in the week. It's like free time. So
Yeah.
in fact, I was talking to our friend Owana, and I realized this is literally the only few block hour period of time, right? Like 2 or 3 hours that I have in the entire week
Yeah.
to sit and just think and talk.
Yeah.
The rest of the week, I'm trying not to talk and minimizing my thought
Yeah.
because it has nothing.
Minimizing your thought.
Yeah, because I'm trying. It's hard to explain, but when you're in the midst of you try to live with your family, you're trying to make everything happen. You want to make everybody happy, right?
Yeah.
You try to get everything done. You want your wife to be happy. You want your baby to be happy. You want your
Yeah.
parents to be happy, and you try to figure things out. So you just try to like keep your mind calm, and you try to focus on how boring everything is usually, how frustrating it is, and how you just want to keep your mouth shut, keep your thoughts, ignore your own personal voice where it says this isn't good, this is whatever. Everybody
Yeah.
has that voice in their head as
Yeah.
to why they should be selfish
Yeah.
when they actually need to act for others, right? Like in their life. So that's what I mean by trying to think less in that sense. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So but this podcast represents the couple hours of the week when I could actually just sit uninterrupted, hopefully, usually, and just hear my own thoughts and parse things out.
Yeah.
I think that's could be one of the primary reasons we do this,
Yeah,
or
for
I
sure.
do this. I'm speaking with myself.
For sure.
Um, so yeah. So Alex, if you're hearing this, I hope you do.
He will.
Can you can you please, you and Owana, I doubt Owana's going to hear this, but can you please, Alex, contact us through the various things? I can't get into my Facebook Messenger anymore. That's why if you wrote a message, I can't. So if you could leave a comment as to what particular date and time would work for you during the course of the week, we could see if we can arrange things, for a special episode with you. I think that's the only way it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so because that's been weighing on me because I've been wanting to do this and it just kind of feels like
Yeah.
never do it. That doesn't feel good.
We'll get
Okay,
him on. We
Yeah,
should get him on because he's a what, a former, well,
he's a
not,
Marine.
there's no saying he's a former Marine, he's a Marine. Yeah.
Once a Marine, always a Marine.
Yes, yes.
Not that not that I know
We
personally, what I'm told.
we can get his take on or his opinion on like what he thinks. You know, it's interesting, man. Like I was so disappointed. I was talking to this guy who, you know, he was on leave from Gaza. He was like visiting America, and he was like part of this whole Shavuot thing that I was at. And
Yeah,
you know, I'm trying to like sometimes you try to get an opinion from some of these guys who are just like, you know, the grunts in the
yeah.
IDF. And I listen, I realize he's a young guy. I think he's like what, 24, 25, 26. And I'm trying to be like this is before we bombed Iran, and I was just trying to get something out of him like in terms of you know, what he thought about constantly being sent to Gaza and the fact that, you know, the mission could have been finished a long time ago. And he literally, you know, you get the feeling a lot of these guys have not even formed an opinion on the matter. You know? It's almost like these guys, some of these guys, like good guys, but I feel like they're like NPCs in that respect, you know?
No, they're
Like,
not NPCs. You know, because to be put in that position, right?
yeah,
You're basically, if you're being told to go and to do something, right? And your society essentially demands it because your society uh, has taught you to trust the people who are leading the effort,
yeah,
right? So, in order to do that, you got to psychologically work yourself up to go and do this extreme thing at the risk of your own life and horrible pain, being killed or maimed
yeah,
in a horrible way. So, you have to get yourself into a psychological state where you can function. And if you keep questioning
yeah,
everything, every little thing, like the way we do in this podcast,
yeah.
you can't be a soldier. You can't survive in that environment.
That is true.
Okay. Either it's just too psychologically painful.
Yeah.
Okay. So this,
No,
we wouldn't be able to be like this if we had to go do what this guy had to do. So you have to
yeah.
kind of turn yourself into an NPC
No,
to
no,
some
yeah.
extent to
Now I
go ahead and,
understand. Now I understand my friend when I first made Aliyah, I was like 30 years old and I said I wanted to go to the army. And the one thing I remember him telling me was that you're too old. We can't brainwash you anymore. He's
yeah.
like, you already have your own ideas and opinions on what should be done and this. But and then I told him, well, and then I kind of shot back at him. I was like, yeah, but aren't my opinions normal and the opinions of the army not? He's like, it may be so, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
This is and but right. Look, I'm making a request right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to say something right now which will open up the whole relationship and marriage thing. I just want to make a comment,
Okay.
but I don't want you to respond to it.
Okay.
My request, you don't have to honor my request. I'm just making it. My request is that you just listen, let it like rattle around in your head, and then see what see what effect it has over the course of a couple of days. You don't have to honor this, just a request. Okay. I'm not your commanding officer. So what you just said, right, that you can't be brainwashed, goes the same for marriage. Okay. The reason why you wouldn't make a good soldier at this point, right, doesn't mean you wouldn't make a great lone wolf warrior, right? There's a lot of stories where you have like, you have a military unit who are on a mission, and then they have like assistance from this like lone wolf kind of ghosty warrior that they couldn't complete the mission without. Okay, there's a place for that archetype as well. Okay. But when it comes to marriage, you have to somehow become a grunt. You have to brainwash yourself to becoming a grunt. And that would be a holy mission. Essentially, God demands it. You got to
Frank,
be,
I'm
you got
only
to
going to
make
give
yourself,
you I'm going
you
to
got
give
to
you the
become stupid.
following Frank, I'm going to give you the following response.
So you have denied my request.
No, no,
I
I
understand.
haven't denied it. I'm buttressing what you're saying.
Ooh, buttressing. I have to look that up. Sounds like bullying
I
it.
am underscoring what you're saying.
All right.
I'm supporting what you're saying.
Okay.
I have done it.
Oh yeah.
When I was married,
No, no, do it again. Keep doing it.
I
You gotta do
was
it every day.
I know, but no, no, no. I mean, when I'm married, I'll do it.
No, no, you got to do it every day
Listen,
until you get married and while you're married.
believe you me, in the business that I'm in, I'm like grunt should be grunt. I'm so grunt. Honestly, I was thinking the other day about this, whatever, sometimes you think about whether or not you're in the right field, career, whatever, right path. And I was just thinking about like what I was doing especially when I was in living in Israel, I was like, basically I was writing, I was, organizing events. I was actually doing kind of like I would say maximizing, at least at that point, kind of my highest skills, so to speak, right? Writing and people were actually recognizing me for the first time in my life for like some kind of intellectual, exhibiting something on an intellectual level, right?
Yeah.
And then I was thinking to myself, here I am back in America, and I walk into these stores as, trying to sell my stuff to like people who I maybe not don't respect and maybe don't think that they're so intelligent and they can they're looking at me a certain way like I'm some just some random salesman guy. It's a totally different like existence completely, right? There's no respect at all. There's no respect for my I walk in, somebody could literally it's happened. They kicked me out of their store literally, not because of anything personal, but just because they literally can't talk to me. They can't even look in my direction. They don't even have the time to breathe on me, much less taste anything I want to, have them taste. It's such a departure from what I was doing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, and I was talking to Hashem about this. I'm like, Hashem, if you put me in this position, granted, I have free will, I chose to do this. This is one of the things, one of the components of what I'm doing. Then there has to be such a payoff. Otherwise, I kind of spent a bunch of years, you know, I don't want to say I wasted, but like I could have been doing other things. And on top of that, I could have gone, and I know this for a fact because I was getting paid for them. I could have continued to do them and could have gotten paid for them, as opposed to, you know, not hardly being recognized for anything, not being in the company of intelligent people, people that I like, people that help me grow, let's say, except for maybe the exception of my business partner, maybe a couple of other people, Baruch Hashem. But like most of the people are not anything to, write home about.
Right.
Listen, the liquor business, forget about even Jews, non-Jews, the liquor business itself is not for, you know, intellectuals, let's put it that way, okay? And not only is it not for intellectuals, it's not even for honest people. It's not. Anybody watching this, folks, if you're in the liquor industry, I'm telling you straight to your face. If you're an honest person and you're an honest person in the industry that we work in, you are a rare breed because most of the people are like this. This is what I found. I've been in it for 10 years, different components of it. So I was just thinking about this, and I realized in a way, I think the only thing, if nothing else, if I don't get a dime out of this thing, it's really preparing me for marriage because again, marriage is like there's a lot of thankless jobs on a day-to-day basis. You don't get oftentimes you don't get thanked for the 95% of the things you do, but you're chastised for the 5% that you missed.
It's it's
It,
it,
it's it's maddening.
listen, it goes. I don't want to try to like trump you, but it goes even a little
I
more.
I know, I know. It goes
Check
even.
this out.
Yeah.
The more you cooperate,
Yeah.
the more belligerent they get.
Correct.
The more you do things on the honey-do list, the more you get shit on.
Yeah, of course.
It's absolutely maddening. It's not.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
makes zero sense.
Yeah.
And you can't describe. You can't even say, "Oh, that could be explained by, oh, you're being too nice," and they start taking you for granted. No, no, no. It's more mysterious than that.
Yeah.
Even your spouse doesn't understand or may not even be fully conscious that they're
They don't
doing.
even know why they're doing like, dude, I'll tell you something. My dad sometimes goes shopping, right? Not sometimes, all the time these days. I'm pretty sure this is common with most women. Now that I'm realizing this, they ask you to get, there's like a shopping list, right? You go. First of all, there's an expectation of being psychic, meaning I didn't mean that one. I meant this one, whatever the product is, right? I didn't
Yeah.
mean the one that says poopy on it. I meant the one that says poopy kaki on it. And not the one. No, you know what I mean? Like I didn't mean this brand, I meant that brand. You should know, right? You should know. And I meant the one with that size and not this size. And if you just so happen to say it wasn't there, what do you mean it wasn't there? It's always there. Hey, guess what? When I went there, it ain't there. And then they go and they check themselves. They find that it's not there. Are they going to take back the fact that they screamed at you and made you feel like you're crazy? No, they're not. The object wasn't there. I couldn't find the damn freaking thing. Okay? I didn't know what you were talking about. And then you happen to come back with the wrong thing or the wrong amount. Dude, you haven't seen Gehenna. You haven't seen Gehenna until you've seen a man come back with too little or too much of something that he has to buy, or just simply the wrong version of the thing. I just think we live in a whatever, like a spoiled society. We just need
It,
a bomb dropped on our heads,
it's hard.
frankly.
I wish I could really relate this to people. It's hard. I don't want to scare them off. Those who aren't married, you know.
Listen, I was already, I
Um.
mean, whatever. You're
So
not
so
scaring me
so.
off.
Well, okay. So it's almost like, all right, let's say somebody, you got your own stuff going on. You have your own, weight to lift, right? You pull your own weight in a sense, right? Like you got your own responsibilities, and your spouse has their responsibilities, right? But you see them struggling sometimes, and you want to help them, right? So you do things, right? Like to make things much easier, right? Like let's say there's a heavy bag that she has to carry 3 times a week across so instead you pick up the bag, you put it in place to make it easier for her to do with it, so at least she doesn't have to carry, right? So if you do that, it's not going to be like, oh, thank you so much for not every time, but like a lot of times it's like, it's not thank you so much for doing this, it's very thoughtful. It's like, you should have been doing this all along, and you didn't, and it would have been nice if you would have moved it an inch this way. Like, why did you know what I mean? Like, why didn't you move it like an inch further? It's almost like, I don't know how to explain this. I don't know how to explain this. Okay. But sometimes, and I have no solution for it either.
You know,
It's
can
just
I tell you,
it's
Frank,
just
can I
that
tell you
chaos that
something?
you have to accept.
Frank, can I
That
tell you
God's
something?
hold on a second. I
Yeah,
was telling this to our mutual friend
yeah.
that he's an idea man. He likes to come up with rational, organized ideas that are helpful,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And they are, but he's like confounded when they're not accepted, and the chaos that could have been solved by idea is preferred to the solving of the chaos, right? So he's like, why do we have to live in chaos when there's a solution? And there's no answer to that, young man. There's no answer to that. It's part of God. God will decide whether or not your bright ideas will be implemented in his reality. And I don't know why he doesn't allow solutions to take hold and to make the world better. I don't know why, even when they really would, even when that is the right answer. Okay.
I think because people listen, it's not well, that's not the only. I think people get stuck in their own Mitzrayim and they're so used to chaos, perpetual chaos. They come from the world of chaos. You can, I don't know. Let's just say you can marry a woman who grew up with nothing, not I don't say nothing but chaos, but a lot of chaos. And you can come along and you could say, "Hey, I can fix all this. I have better ways of doing things than the way you normally do it." She can't even imagine what that looks like. Dude, I'm telling you, a woman I almost married, she told me, I want to marry a guy. I always wanted to marry a guy from like a nuclear family, like the parents are still together, normal family. She never knew her father. It turned, as the relationship went along, you realize she doesn't even know what that looks like. She doesn't even know how to handle that. She doesn't even know like she can't even like accept certain aspects about it. She doesn't even know how to coexist with it. Her world is just chaos. Her world is like no father, whatever, like daddy issues, and that's it. And she doesn't even understand why a guy would like if somebody in his family asks him to come help, why that's normal for a guy to do that. Like in her head, that's not normal. That's like because the person lives in chaos. They can't imagine a different existence. Just like, dude, you look at this Iran thing, I don't blame a lot of people for thinking that America is going to get into a forever war because all the previous neocon and deep state assholes who have led this country before Trump have led us into a forever war, right? I was listening to Victor Davis Hanson. Uh, he goes, I don't understand you people. He's like, listen, I'm not for wars, forever wars, but I don't understand you people. You people voted for Trump thinking that he's an isolationist. No, he's a Jacksonian. What is a Jacksonian? It's a person who takes care of what's need to be taken care of, and then he leaves. He kills Soleimani and then he leaves. He doesn't start a war. He kills this guy, he kills Baghdadi, and he leaves. He just does what he needs to do and he leaves. Goodbye. It's called Jacksonian doctrine, Andrew Jackson.
Yeah.
So but they're so traumatized. They don't even know what like a peaceful Middle East would look like. So their solution is just screw the Middle East. Let them blow each other up. Not understanding that already the Middle East has come to their door. Hezbollah's here, everybody's here. They don't even know what peace would look like. They don't even know what love would look like. They don't even know like these whoever. Dude, I have a friend in Israel who lives in Israel. He's married, right? And his wife grew up in an Orthodox family. She got married late, 35 years old. He was like whatever, how old, however old he was, 39, 40. She screams at him like what you're describing, but like times 10, right? And every little thing he does wrong, this and that. I told him, next time you talk to your wife, this is not my business, but next time you talk to her, tell her, ask her a question. If I wasn't here, if I didn't exist, who would you yell at for, something that's going wrong around the house? Who would you scream at? Would you scream in the mirror? Would you scream at yourself? Who would you have to scream at? Would you find another guy you could scream, marry a new guy and scream at him? Like what?
That's not, you don't understand. That's something that makes sense. Therefore, it will not work. It'll have the opposite effect.
What do you mean?
Be, being in a, you ever see table surfing at a Jewish wedding?
Yeah.
That's interesting. It makes no sense. They try to, like, you're supposed to be on top of the table, then your friends pick up the table. You're supposed to try to keep your balance so you
Yeah.
don't fall, right? It's a silly wedding thing that people do, right?
I would end up in the hospital if I
No,
did
but
that.
I did it. There's pictures of me, right? So if I can do it, you can do it. But I'll just tell you, it's marriage is kind of like that. It's like, think about, instead of your friends, it's like a tornado, and you're standing on a table. You try to keep yourself balanced in this like chaos tornado around you, and you're looking, and you're not, and it doesn't make sense why this tornado has to be a tornado. It just is. It's God just not allowing the tornado to calm down, and you have to learn how to navigate within the tornado. Tornadoes are dumb. Like, what the hell? Why would you want to be in a tornado? But that's the reality.
But
You're
here's my
stuck in
question,
that.
man. No, no, my question is, again, I don't want to get into speaking negatively about ladies or about relationships or anything. Before a lady meets you, like before you get to know her, she's single. You want to tell me that her entire life is chaos?
Yeah.
It's impossible. I met women who their life is everything is like this, like
No.
ducks lined up like ducks in a row. Yeah, I know
No, no,
women
they
like that.
have. dude.
And what? So they're chaotic, and then you meet them, and
You're,
and then you marry them, and they suck you into their chaos, or what? That's how
yeah,
this
that's
works.
right. That's right. They suck you. They're like a tornado, and they it's like getting sucked into a tornado. That's right. That's the reality of women.
Bad sales pitch.
No. Look. I'm not selling you anything.
I know, no, I
I'm
know, I know you're
telling
not.
you
I know
what
you're
the
not. I'm
world
talking
you
about.
live
I'm
in.
talking about the sales pitch, the that we call the cloud, the global sales pitch, not
We're
yours.
not listen. This podcast is not for people who need to be sold
Yeah,
stuff. This is about trying to understand reality.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Trying.
I
Let's
get it.
say I'm not guaranteeing everything I'm saying is right. I'm telling you what it looks like to me. Okay. It feels like being in a tornado that you cannot necessarily control
So here's my question,
the
man.
intensity of it,
If
right?
their life is chaos, so how there's some of these girls who are like, very whatever, they're accomplished and they're successful in what they do and all this kind of stuff. Last I checked, I mean, you cannot be overly chaotic and
Look,
be organized and accomplish things
oh,
and go about your day. Take a test to become a lawyer or a doctor.
try to
You
understand.
have to be like on point.
No, we're totally speaking past each other.
Okay.
Just just listen. Right now, right, the way the social planners have created societies, right, since for the last 100 years or more, right? It's they've completely changed things and made it into a uh, matriarchal, not even matriarchal, because matriarchy implies like
Yeah.
motherliness.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's got gynocentric. That's the word I'm looking for.
Not even gyno. It's whatever some kind of like modern notion of what a feminist is.
No, it's gynocentrism, dominant or exclusive focus on women in theory and practice.
No, but that might be not correct either, because women, right, like this is not women, this is like deranged women.
Yeah.
In some sense, the society is meant to raise up to prominence the idea of the deranged woman, a woman who deranges herself and the society around her. Where essentially what's promoted: delay of family, right? Delay of children, delay of marriage. Women are forced into these unnatural, psychologically painful roles of being a career woman, right? Even when their career is not really doing anything for society, right? Like for instance, what I mean is like this: what careers or jobs keep the modern world operating? Like
Yeah.
people who work
Yeah.
in the lowest in the lowest levels of the city, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
in the sewers, and people
Yeah.
who keep the
Yeah.
infrastructure going, the guys, the linemen, people like, you'll never see any women there. There's like, once there's like
Very
one
few.
woman
Very
per
few.
thousand, per 10,000 guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Women work in HR and horse shit like that. So that kind of uselessness, right, is promoted. Women are promoted to go to college, to whore themselves out, to slut themselves out, to delay their families, to delay their children for some nonsensical view of what a modern woman is. A lot of women have to kind of go against their normal instincts, and it creates a lot of cognitive dissonance along the way.
Yeah.
Okay, and then
Yeah.
when they're done, they've created the social planners, the people who Carol Quigley talks about, the people Anthony Sutton talks about, right?
Yeah.
This is the woman that they've created to run society, the Kamala Harrises of the world. Okay, so um, so this is obviously has added to the chaos of the regular tornado like chaos of a regular woman, a woman who, in the traditional sense, right, a feminine, motherly woman, right, who, like, a woman who believes in traditional values and all that kind of stuff. Even that's just kind of like regular old garden variety kind of tornado, like the God created tornado, right? That we were meant to live in when we get married. But now you have this other stuff, right? So when you say she's a doctor, she's a this, she's a that, she wrote a book,
Yeah.
she's a lecturer, she gave a TED talk,
Yeah.
she has, she climbed the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
Dude, this is all garbage. None of that, that's all chaos. Okay. You just described demon cock.
No,
Okay.
but
You use Patton
no, but
Oswalt's.
in order
Okay.
no, but in order to get no, no, listen, but in order to get to like getting, let's say, a law degree, you have to be an organized. You can't be your day cannot be chaotic. You have to have a routine. You have to have this and that. That's what I'm describing. I'm not talking about like some whatever
Have you
philosophical
seen?
ideological thing.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Is the process of becoming a lawyer healthy?
Yeah, and I'm not saying I never said it was healthy. I'm saying what you need to do in order to get there.
Right. So
You
no,
have
what
to
I'm saying,
have a what I'm all I'm talking about is a person has a structure in their life and a structure in their day. That's all I'm talking about. I'm not saying it's healthy. I'm not saying it's good.
a tornado has a structure. It's an organized structure.
Okay, but it's all over the place. It goes all
It's
over
not
the
all
place.
over the place. No, it's not.
No, I mean its path is kind of like unpredictable. You can't predict where it's going to
No,
go.
it's actually predictable. And
Okay.
a tornado is a system.
Okay.
It's a storm. It's a vortex, and it occupies a finite amount of space. It has a specific speed at which it operates, and it has a specific effect on what it encounters as it travels through its path.
Hmm.
A
Okay.
chaos that's organized chaos. You understand? It's an unhealthy intensity.
So what
Okay,
would be
it's destructive.
what would be non-chaos? Meaning what describe to me a scenario where, you know, where would not constitute non-chaos for women.
Okay, so a woman gets married and she finds herself dealing with a particular problem, whether it be psychological or even a physical problem. God forbid, not a physical ailment, but like she needs more shelf space in her closet.
Okay.
Anything of that, right? So here's the process, right? Um, she either can figure it out by herself, and then she does it, she fixes it, or she asks for help from her helpmate, called her husband, who's glad to do it. The problem is dealt with. They have dinner, they enjoy spending time together, and they follow that system with any difficulty that they may encounter. Okay. Anything outside of that system is chaos. Yet it seems like what many people go through, I don't want to say most, but it feels like most, okay, is almost anything but what I just described.
Yeah.
And when you're asked to step out of your situation and see, why is this happening? Why does it have to be like this?
Yeah. Um,
All right. What are you doing to make it not like that?
yeah.
Why doesn't he want to help you? You think he doesn't want to help you. Why do you think he doesn't want to help you? Are you assuming that he has to read your mind, that you need help? Things. Do you think that he's sitting around all day with an empty head, waiting for you to come, right, and notice something or something that if people just treated each other like that is another human being over there.
Yeah.
They were brought to this world, and it's tough,
Yeah.
and they probably didn't ask to come here,
Yeah.
and they're dealing with their own things. They probably have their own physical aches and pains. And most people, if you're a good person, you're not going to blab about every single one of your trials and tribulations, right, to the person that you're with, because you don't want You don't want the person you're with, whether it be your spouse or even friends, to think that you're just like this whiny, complainy person. No one's going to want to be friends with you or hang out with you, right? So anybody who wants to have a relationship is going to keep most of their stuff to themselves. Okay. So things are life is difficult. God sends a lot of stuff to people, even like people who seem to have it good, right?
Yeah,
From the outside. You know what they're dealing with internally. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So everybody has a mind full of thoughts and things that they're dealing with. They got their own issues. Okay. Do you really need to assume that they're sitting there thinking about your particular issues? Now let's say you have a spouse, right? They are another person, right? So maybe instead of assuming that they should be doing something without being prompted, just go and tell them what you need in a just ask, show vulnerability, ask for help. They'll be happy to do it. Okay. But if you come there with this kind of like baggage, not baggage, I shouldn't use these like modern terms because it gets people confused because it doesn't always mean what I'm trying to imply. If you go there with an attitude, if you go there with there's something other than the request. Like ladies, if you're a lady and you have a husband, right? If you need help,
Yeah.
the guy will help you.
Pretend we're like a guy in Home Depot. You're in
And
Home
some
Depot. Hi, I need help with this. Do you mouth off to the guy in Home Depot? No, you don't. Unless
no,
unless he like does something stupid.
don't think Home Depot. Think of an actual like mom and pop shop where the
Yeah.
people who work there know what they're talking about
Yeah,
and want
yeah.
to be helpful.
I'm saying it's a
Yeah.
it's a guy who's not your husband, and he can probably help you if you ask him nicely.
Yeah.
It's
Like if you go to that guy, right?
yeah,
He's wearing like a Korean veteran's hat, right?
yeah,
And he knows he can probably help you.
yeah,
You're gonna be respectful to him, and you're not going to come to him with an attitude expecting him to know what your problem is and how come he didn't come himself to all this
yeah. How
other
come he
shit.
didn't? Yeah, how come he didn't leave his store with his little nails or whatever his little screws and come to your house like,
Yeah.
ma'am, would you like to buy? I have these things. I know, and I got a a psychic download that you needed this.
Yeah.
I'm here with the things. All you gotta do is pay me a couple bucks. Here you go.
Ladies, if you could just temper your expectations about what you think people should be doing and when they should be doing it and how, right?
Yeah,
And I shouldn't say just ladies. I should maybe say this
everybody.
to all
It's an
people,
entitled
to
society. That's
everyone.
what this is.
Okay. But if you just kind of if you can just like push that out of your head and just remember you have a person in your life who will help you. They
Yeah,
will help you and they want to help you. Okay. And if you seem to have gotten some pushback or if they seem not as enthusiastic, you can't expect that. You can't be disappointed that they're not enthusiastic.
yeah,
Maybe they got something else going on in their mind. Sometimes they'll be enthusiastic, sometimes they won't. But you can't not go and seek help from a person who doesn't seem enthusiastic.
yeah,
You have a job to do, and you were given someone who will help you. Now, ladies, I promise you, I can't promise, but I can I could give you like whatever is closest to a promise, right?
yeah,
Because only God can make a promise.
yeah,
So whatever a finite being like myself can tell you, right, is that if you were to do an experiment, if you just 10 times, right, 10 times in a row, if you were just to come up to your husband without anything, with no attitude, no expectations, no nothing, okay, and just ask them to help you in a specific way, with a help you do something specific in a specific way and a specific time.
yeah.
Say, Bob, I'd like for you to come at 5 o'clock and help me hang up a hook on Thursday. Please, can you do it? He'll say yes. He'll come and it'll happen. Or if he can't make it on Thursday, he'll say, can we do it Wednesday? Sure. Okay. Specific information. Okay. Specific. Yes. You have to speak to him like they're a potato. Okay,
Yeah.
tell them specific information. You can't expect him to fill in the dots. Just tell him what you want, and he'll do it. And tell him specifically what you want. Okay, and don't come to him at the beginning of an idea. Come to him at the end of the idea. Once you've decided, okay, I want a piece of furniture. Okay, now at what point is he supposed to help you get this piece of
Well,
furniture?
here's
Well,
the
first
kicker,
decide.
man.
Well, decide. Do you want what kind of piece of furniture? Would
They
you like
don't, they
a
don't,
chair,
they
or
don't
would you like
know.
it to be a? Would you like it to be
So, so
a couch, an end table?
Frank,
Perhaps
sometimes they
an
want their decision
armoire.
made for them. They don't know.
Okay, so right,
They
so
don't
that's
know.
so that's the problem, ladies. Okay, we can't do that. We don't do that. We can't do that. But you have to understand and appreciate what you do have. Okay, I don't think ladies are taught about what they are given when they have a husband. I'm talking about normal guys, like obviously there's like a spectrum, but within the normal spectrum, you have a guy who will do what you ask him to do. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Like you have somebody who will help you. He's going to do the heavy thing, the dirty thing, the dangerous thing. He's going to go downstairs and get mauled by the bear that broke into your house, right?
Yes.
He's going to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, he's going to protect you and the kids. So can you please not torture him with your horse shit? He'll not only will he get mauled by the bear, right? He'll help you with all the other stuff too, but you just have to be specific. He's not thinking the way that you think. He doesn't like what you like. He doesn't even like you. He loves you. He probably doesn't like you. He doesn't like what you watch. He doesn't like what you like to read. He doesn't like your choices in furniture. He just goes along with everything. So if you can, if he's given up his will a long time ago. Like when it comes to things about everyday life in the house, decisions, what kind of shelf is it going to be? What kind of table is it going to
If
be?
he ever had it to begin with, like I was just telling,
Right. No,
uh,
some guys come into a marriage thinking that they have some, some decision making,
yeah.
you
No, what
know,
I mean is not even decision making, meaning like me personally, I don't even think I even have like I so don't give a damn about like like I mean I obviously it doesn't have to look like crap, but I'm one of these people like I don't care about furniture. I don't care about like dude, I'm telling you, I'm so like I live, my mom likes to call it, she has these friends, she's like, ты знаешь, Disha, они живут in the world of ideas. Dude, that's where I live. I live in the world of ideas. I
you're
don't
not
live
allowed to.
I don't live in the world of
You have to come, dude.
things,
Dude,
objects.
Their Anpin has to go down into Nukva. That's what Zeranpin go.
I know.
You
I know.
can't be that. You're not.
I know.
Nobody's allowed to. You think you're
I know.
special?
I know.
I'm
No,
like
I don't
that
think I'm
too.
special. I'm just, like writers.
So
That's what we are. We
so
just
listen,
want to write
we're
and we just want to, whatever.
right. That's so you're
Produce
listen.
and write and
Here's the basic system. Here's the basic system, ladies. You probably remember this if you remember childhood, right? Guy, guys, we are not to use the old trope, but we really are from a different planet, okay? And we were just fine without you. If you recall, when little boys and girls, right? Boys don't like to play with girls. They're not fun. They're too sensitive. They cry too much. They don't like to play the kind. They're not rough enough to play the sports. We could sit. My point is like this, and yeah, I know there's like exceptions. This is a tomboy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fine, fine, fine. Okay. So, but generally speaking, right? You were wondering why the little boys didn't like you or didn't want to play with you. Why your older brothers or even your young, the brothers the same age, they didn't want to play with you when you were little kids. Okay. That is just a fact. We're like kind of like different animals and we have different proclivities. Now, before a guy is burdened with attraction to the opposite sex, he's not think he's every little boy is asexual, right? Like every child is.
yeah.
And for that period of time, they're
Until
not
like
burdened by it.
age 11-ish,
Right.
10-ish.
I'm not thinking, when I'm sitting there playing Sega, right? I'm playing like uh Shinobi, which is my favorite game.
Yeah.
Not once did I think, oh, I'd like to go out and kiss a girl or hold hands or whatever, even a childish.
Yeah.
I couldn't care less. I was so happy.
Yeah.
I play water guns. Do you understand? Like I go
Yeah.
play basketball, play baseball, get into fights, ride my bike. I just wanted to do a big jump off a ramp. That was my thing. That was like, whoa, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we don't think about you at all. In fact, you seem to kind of be an impediment to that.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, you told on us all the time, right? And you always want to hang around. We weren't interested. Okay. Because you didn't add to the, what did you contribute to, to jumping, to getting like really great air off your dirt bike? Do you understand? Like, you wanted to like really impress your friends and you want to fly like 30 feet in the air. Okay. You wanted to pop that wheelie. You know what I mean? You wanted to successfully perform that ollie, if you're a skateboarder. Okay. This is what you were interested in.
Yeah.
And not once were you thinking about going out with a girl. You know what I mean? Like, and then all of a sudden, God does this like magic. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, now, you know what I mean? Like, if it wasn't for that, we would never hang out. I don't think we'd want to interact with you. Okay, so it kind of stays that way. Do you understand? It's not like once God introduced attraction, all of a sudden now we like the stuff you like.
Yeah.
No, no, we don't. No, in fact, we like it much less.
Sometimes we pretend, but I stopped pretending a long time ago. I used to pretend.
We don't like anything that you like.
Yeah.
Okay. If a guy starts to like stuff that the woman likes, this is this something of it feels like he's been erased, some aspect, like some of his, like, he becomes more and more like NPC,
Yeah.
ladies. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
But okay, fine. So why am I telling you this? Not to demean you, not to put you down, just to make you understand that it's that same little boy who didn't want to play with you. Okay. And just because he started all of a sudden now is obsessed with you physically for some reason that he himself doesn't understand, right? Doesn't mean that he likes to play tea. He doesn't want to play tea party with you. He doesn't like to pretend tea
He
party.
definitely doesn't want to go on double dates with and then force himself to be friends with
He doesn't like to be
the
called
husband of your
cute.
friend.
Right. He doesn't like to be called cute. He
Yeah.
doesn't like to be thought of as a cute as part of a cute couple. He doesn't like to hear from your stupid friends, "Oh, you guys are so cute." Okay? He wants to flip the table over and run through the wall like who's that guy? Kool-Aid man.
Oh,
Okay?
oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. That's what he wants to do whenever something female happens. Okay. And he has to hide all that and repress it. Okay.
Uh,
Okay. So being with all that said,
I don't even know how do we get into this topic.
wait a
I
minute.
really
Wait a minute.
no.
No,
I'm
hold
just
on. I'm
curious.
getting to a
I'm
point.
trying to remember.
I'm getting to a point. I've put an effort. So with that all said, ladies, with that all said, we still love you, right? Would die for you and would help you with anything you want. But just understand that his mind is so far away from you, from what you want, from your decor, from your everything. Okay. So he's just somebody that has stepped into your tornado and is trying to kind of like not get blown away. And he wants to help you. He'll help you if you ask him specific things. He's not going to guess anything.
You know what
Okay.
I'm you know what I'm finding and this is something I've observed with couples at least in the Jewish world. If you walk in to the somebody's house and it just so happens that thank God they're very well to do to the point where they have a person working in their home, basically a live-in maid. What I find is the woman is so much more calm because this lady, whoever this is doing a majority of the work, especially since they have, a good amount of kids, right? Around the house. And so I feel like I guess the solution to everything we're talking about could be, at least if you're Jewish and you have a lot of kids, just make a lot of money.
I'm going to have to push back on that.
No, I know, and I'm pushing back on myself because I've seen situations where that's not a
Yeah. I've seen,
solution.
I've seen situations.
And on top of that, it's never enough, and it's still not enough.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
there's always
That
a problem.
the lady, I've seen that some ladies who get everything they ask for are still not happy,
Yeah,
and they just find the next thing to
yeah,
be miserable about. Do you
yeah,
understand?
yeah,
It doesn't mean that I don't want ladies to have all the help they need or want, but it doesn't nothing seemingly to help with their happiness,
yeah.
right? It doesn't seem to solve the problem.
Dude, I think it all comes down to just gratefulness, and I think that my friend I have a friend who grew up in Israel in Jerusalem, and he has a rabbi who lives in Israel. The rabbi grew up in America, and he's seen kind of both sides of the coin, and then he made Aliyah. And I remember when we were roommates, and I would always hear him sitting in the lectures. His rabbi was giving lectures on Zoom, and the most common theme, the prevailing theme of the whole of every single solitary lecture was he was always talking about like everything comes back to entitlement. There was always these like deep Kabbalistic ideas, and it all comes back to entitlement. And I remember I met this rabbi once, and he told me he's just like what I'm seeing in America. He's like I started already seeing it in the 70s. Why it's rotting from the inside, literally, as wealthy as it is, and as abundant as it is, as prosperous as it is, it's entitlement. People feel entitled. You know, you go to Israel. Listen, I haven't met too many entitled people in Israel. Very few. And then the ones I have met, guess what? They're Americans and they just made Aliyah and they're expecting this and they're expecting that. And I remember like when I lived in Israel and I came back here to America, dude, man, the level of entitlement I saw. Listen, unfortunately, in our community, and in general, not just in our community, in general, is insane. And the Torah says, Hashem told the people, you know the whole famous thing when we before we went into the land. What did he tell us? Don't get too fat and happy.
Where do you say that?
He didn't say do get too fat and happy. He said don't get here.
Yeah,
Um,
show the source,
yeah,
Greg.
no, no. This is I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but here. Before Jews went into Israel, don't. It says here. Yeah, caution. Yeah, it says it does caution against the danger. Okay, so Deuteronomy. I mean, this is just I don't know what parsha that says. Deuteronomy 8, 12, 14. Lest when you have eaten and are satisfied and have built fine houses and you live in them, and when your herds and flocks multiply, and your silver and gold is multiplied, and all that you have is multiplied, then your heart will be lifted up, and you forget the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. So he's saying you're gonna forget about me. You're gonna forget that it was me that gave you all this stuff. And dude, when you forget about Hashem, dude, our name, the name of the Jewish people, Yehudim, it's uh hoda'ah, gratefulness, thankfulness. We are people who thank Hashem. You know, we make a bracha before we eat. We thank him before we eat, and then we thank him after we eat. We're constantly thanking him. And so when you get all this fat cash and then you think you did it and you think you're so talented and then you forget about him, you forget about thanking him and you forget about thanking other people. You forget about thanking that this all this stuff, this wonderful SUV that you're able to get for, whatever salary you got and what wonderful house that it could be taken away in a second by freaking Hitler Part Two.
Yeah,
Like by the new mayor of New York, Hamas man.
yeah. That's part. What you're describing is the reason why the reason why uh, there seems to be a lack of consciousness of God when it comes to getting, uh, when you get wealthy or when you get, material blessings, right? And you'll forget about God, right? And then all of a sudden it never makes you happy and you need more and more and you think you need more, but the next thing doesn't make you happy and it just keeps getting worse
Yeah,
and worse, right?
yeah,
And what we said before about pushing a certain type of woman to the forefront, right? A certain type of like warped version of a of a concept of a woman, right? That's being promoted in our societies. That even seeped in, like you said, to the Orthodox community, right? Much lesser extent, but still, is this kind of like what we would call fallen feminine. Uh, Now, as we know, what remedies the fallen feminine? You ever heard the concept of the shame bon coming to rectify? Excuse me, the shame ma coming to rectify the shame bon, right? The name 45 comes to rectify the name 52, right? Folks, I'm not going to be able to explain what that means right now, but it essentially means that Zeranpin comes to enlighten Nukva. What does that mean, folks? That means that it's the job of the man to provide the spiritual information that benefits the woman. On a certain level, every husband has to be a rabbi to his wife on a certain level, has to be a spiritual advisor to his wife. And that's been completely compromised all over the world, certainly in the non-Jewish world, but even unfortunately in the Orthodox Jewish world to some extent, because you'll constantly hear all these tropes of, oh, your wife is so wise, and the husband, oh, he's a shmendrik, but oh, you're lucky, what a wise and wonderful wife you have. And the wife has been elevated as this like oracle of wisdom, and sometimes they are, but it was the appointed job of the man to be the one who delivers light to his wife properly, the Jewish way, correctly.
That's why she's described as the moon. Should they have Rosh Chodesh events, ladies, Rosh Chodesh events? She's the moon. The moon does not create its own light. The man is the sun. The man illuminates the moon.
The husband has been reduced to the shmendrik whose wife puts up with him. All right, it's even.
Some of the rabbis that you and I listen to keep.
Yeah, I mean, they don't promote it like seriously. They
I
make
know, but
jokes about
it's a
it.
joke. But it's a joke that they're whatever.
Unfortunately, the
It's
jokes
in the
are
consciousness.
too many jokes.
Yeah, it's too many jokes. It's in it's seeped into the consciousness and to the point where they think it's real. It's serious.
The husband has a responsibility to deliver the spiritual information. He learns Torah and then he shares it with his wife.
Yeah. Dude, I have my a friend of mine, Yemenite guy, and you know how Yemenites are. It's all, it's a very, whether it's Muslims or Jews, doesn't matter. It's a very patriarchal kind of society. He's a modern guy, but when it comes to these things, he always tells me, he's like, Tzvi, don't ever. He's like, it's like the guy from Johnny Dangerously. Don't ever hang me on a hook. My mother hung me on a hook once. He goes, don't ever let a woman disrespect you in public ever. It's like the worst thing ever. You know how many relatives I saw, men in my family, the woman disrespect the husband in front of people, and it's like the worst insult.
It's a
It's like
form. It's a form of adultery.
he jokes. He sometimes jokes like it should be punishable by death.
Okay,
I know, whatever.
see, bro. You see, like you turned something that was.
I know.
I'm not going to give you a hard time right
No,
now.
but
But you
it's
turned something
true.
that could be potentially helpful into
I know.
something that is now every woman listening to
I
this,
know. I know. I know.
or all the
No, but
one
that's him
ladies.
say. That's him
Wait a
saying
minute. Wait a minute.
it.
Let me try to fix this. Okay. You're laughing, which means you agree. Like, I mean, that's what women think right now. They're listening to you because you're laughing at.
No, I agree with you. I don't agree with him,
No,
obviously.
okay.
Just funny.
That's the reality. I'm just telling you a perception. So,
Ah,
ladies, what that means is that if what are we telling guys right now? Don't ever let a woman disrespect you. Really, in general, but in public, especially
yeah,
a wife to a husband.
yeah,
It goes without saying a husband to a wife. It's every normal guy who sees like a husband disrespecting his wife wants to beat the shit out of the guy. It just seems like
yeah. Yeah.
it's so repulsive,
Yeah.
right? But now it's become, and it always has been that way. Not in the Arab world,
Yeah.
okay, but in the normal world,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
where people aren't animals, okay.
Yeah.
It's disgusting to see a husband mistreating his wife, or any man mistreating a woman. Like any guy looking at that, he gets like, filled with moral indignation and wants to go and,
Yeah.
become your white knight and all this kind of.
I was
That's the
gonna say,
natural
yeah.
response of a guy. Okay.
Yeah.
But when you see a woman disrespecting her husband, whatever, he probably deserves it. Fuck him, like that's
Actually,
how it
dude,
is now.
actually,
Wait,
dude,
wait,
what
wait.
up? Yeah.
Hold on. So I got a little sideline, but what I really wanted to say was that what we're saying to guys, if your wife tries to disrespect you in public, um, that's something that has to be dealt with a conversation and an ultimatum. Something has to change
Yeah.
drastically, right? You have to make a very serious decision about your relationship with this person. This you cannot be that cannot be allowed. Your fellow man cannot allow that to continue. It's demoralizing to society in general.
Yeah.
This goes outside your personal relationship with this person. Okay, everybody like affects everybody else. Okay, we don't
Yeah.
want that shit to spread. Okay, it's very toxic
I don't know, toxic.
society.
Like, let's say there's a guy who's married and his wife is doing that to him repeatedly, and then his friend, sees that like play out in front of his face, and
He's not going to want to do a
and he's
business deal
single.
with him.
No, 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 no. It's not even that. Let's say well, he's not gonna. It's gonna like he's single. He's not. It's gonna discourage him from getting married.
It's it's
Dude,
not good.
dude,
It's not a good.
there's things I want to see here. I'm not gonna say it here. I'm gonna tell you in private, but it's wow.
I think like just to get to the essence of what the problem is with this, right,
Yeah.
folks? Um, as you read the Torah, the Hebrew scripture, right, and you read about starting from Adam and Eve and going all through the generations, and you read about these men and their wives, and these wives and their husbands, right, and these people that we get to know, the patriarchs and the matriarchs, right, and the Torah tells you when something healthy is going on and when something toxic is going on. And the Torah is uh it's overlapping with and corresponding to the Sfirot. Okay? God through the Sfirot shows us. It's an instruction manual on how people should relate to each other, how a husband should relate to his wife, how a wife should relate to her husband, how parents should relate to their children, how children should relate to their parents, siblings, friends, close family, even even people who are not family. All of that is encoded within the interactions of the Sfirot. Okay, so if you're going contrary to the Sfirot, and to put it another way, if you've ever been walking early in the morning and you walk past a park in the city and you see a group of people doing Tai Chi, right? You have the person who's at the head of the group. He's the leader of the group, and everybody is trying to copy the leader's movements because they chose the leader based because he has the best technique, and they try to copy him as accurately as possible, right? And so the Sphirot, in a way, are like the Tai Chi leader. That's like God acting like the Tai Chi leader to us. And we're supposed to mimic those movements. And if we're out of sync with that, it feels off. You feel like something's not right. Something is out of balance. You feel a disharmony with the universe, with reality. Okay. So when you see, there's a reason why you get a nasty feeling when you see discord between people, when you see people fighting, when you see people not relating to each other correctly, when you see a wife berating her husband, embarrassing him publicly, and vice versa. Okay, but we're talking about this one specifically right now. Okay, so so this is something that a man cannot allow. Okay, he has to, and God forbid, am I ever saying he should raise a hand against his wife or anything violent, or that's out of the question, obviously. I feel like that shouldn't need to even be said because the people because this is because we're gentle, civilized people, and I'm assuming that we're speaking to a gentle, civilized audience. So this doesn't need to be said, okay? But obviously, we're not talking about any kind of violence. But with it has to be taken seriously by the man. A man cannot allow that kind of relationship because it puts him in jeopardy. It puts really everybody in jeopardy. But well, let's focus on the guy for a second. He's being he's being humiliated by his wife in public. So, and this guy has friends and family. And if you allow yourself to be bullied in any way by anybody, people start to look at you a certain way. They start to wonder, what is it about you that allows you to be bullied? People start to feel like maybe you need some help. And then at the same time, after the fact, when a person realizes, oh, this guy needs some help, it goes without saying, unfortunately, that once you help somebody or you realize somebody needs help, now you start to look at them as a nebuch, as a nebach.
What if the guy is not a
Now you're
nebuch?
not gonna now you're not gonna feel confident going into battle with this guy. You're not
What if
gonna want to do a business deal with
I have
him.
a
He's
question.
lost opportunities.
What if the lady he's dealing with has actually clinical issue, and no matter how much he's tried, and he's stood up for himself, and he set her aside and all the rest of it, and nothing is
If that's
happening,
really the
and
case,
he himself doesn't even may not even want to accept the fact that she does have some kind of a trauma,
okay, so that's a problem.
you know?
So let's change the factors a little bit. Let's say the
Yeah,
guy did try to do everything right, and she does have a severe mental condition, which causes her not to be able to control her basic behavior, right?
yeah,
And if he really tried everything, then his friends and family realize what's going on. Because after great effort,
yeah,
you know, great effort takes time,
yeah,
and it sometimes takes assistance of others. Okay, and if the correct amount of effort was put in, then I don't think that his fellows around him, his close friends and family, are gonna look down on him.
yeah,
Okay, they know that the problem is with her and not with him. Okay,
yeah, yeah,
but when you berate somebody in public and you humiliate them, you have now endangered their life because now you've shown that they're weak,
yeah,
and that invites more bullying from others.
yeah,
Right, unfortunately, these are there are humans who have characteristics where they take, you know sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it's subconscious. They tend to take liberties when they
yeah,
feel that they can get away with it. Could
yeah,
be even a subconscious thing,
yeah.
right? Like even between friends, right? Like, hey, remember when I threw you under the bus in the last podcast when I said I got to go, and you're like, oh, I got to go because I have cleaning ladies, and I'm like, that's not a good enough reason.
No, but
Like,
that was
I,
sick. I mean,
I was
obviously, yeah.
correct. That was shtick. But even that comes because I know you're not going to beat me up. I'm
I mean, I
assuming you're not
could.
going to beat me up for well, it's I would say it's
You
possible.
know, my
But no, but what my
yeah,
point, hold on, before we get to look, all I'm trying to say is like this, ladies, really anybody, if you humiliate a person, you are endangering their life
of
because
course,
you're inviting more predatory actions toward them, and you're also inviting dismissal of vital opportunities.
yeah,
That person, your husband, you humiliated him in a restaurant. In that restaurant was sitting a guy that he was talking about maybe opening a business with that could have been great. The
yeah,
guy decided to himself, I'm not going to go into business with a guy who can't stand up for himself.
yeah,
So, lady, you're a retard. You just sabotaged your own success
yeah,
by humiliating your husband and
correct,
diminishing his confidence, right? You have diminished your own potential for having a good life materially, right? And
yeah,
also for him to, you want a bold guy, right? So you want to up your husband's confidence. You don't want to knock him down a peg or two. You understand? Like you want to support him. I've noticed in my family, okay, without getting into specifics, the women who have supported their husbands even when they screwed up, and they screwed up a lot, and they kind of they understood their role as a support for the husband. Because there's a lady in my family who she never worked. She just supported her husband through thick and thin in terms of his business decisions. I don't know about other ways, but she never crapped on him when his business things didn't work out. And there was a lot of screw ups. He eventually became successful, very successful. Okay. That couldn't have happened without her support.
Yeah, because she's smart.
She has this is a rare wisdom
Yeah.
that I haven't seen very much of.
I think it's a wisdom that exists in the previous generation, honestly.
Uh, Not every lady from the pre
Not no, no, I'm not saying
from
every.
the
I'm
previous
saying
generation. You know, I have other examples
I
of
know. I'm not saying every, but I'm saying I see more of that in the previous and less of it in starting with our generation and younger. Again, it all goes back to entitlement. That's what it all goes back to.
okay.
Um,
So just to kind of wrap this up, I wanted to talk about other things, and somehow
yeah, we veered into
you
this.
know my request was denied.
I mean, I didn't deny your request. I just
I mean, you did, but that's
no,
fine.
I supported what you said. I added to what you
Oh,
said.
but
Like
I
I
didn't.
said,
But my part of my request was not to delve into this. But I'm
oh,
just as guilty of it as you are
I
in
mean,
this case.
we yeah,
So the point is that when you, uh, in order to get married, and you have to, right? You're commanded. It's a commandment by the commander.
yeah,
Okay, the real commander has
yeah,
commanded you to do something,
yeah.
and in order for you to do this, you have to put yourself in a certain psychological framework to do this, similar to a soldier who has to go and do stuff that if he
Oh,
starts
that's how
thinking
we
too
got on
much,
this topic. Yeah, the
yeah,
grunt
if
thing.
he
Yeah,
starts thinking too much, he's not
yeah,
gonna be able to fulfill his duty.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so therefore, what I mean is when you have to understand that the woman is a even a traditional woman, even a woman who has wisdom in the traditional sense, who does everything, even she is still some form of a chaos tornado. But that's just the type of situation that God designed. Do you understand? Like he meant to stick us in a stormy sea,
yeah.
in a tornado type environment. Some are more milder, okay,
Yeah.
and but some are, especially in this later generation, very violent
Yeah.
and very tumultuous, right?
Yeah.
And God essentially seems to be commanding us to get swept up in it, but try not to get swept away by it or destroyed. Try to function within this chaos, okay? And and what a woman finds to be normal is chaos to us,
Yeah.
right? It's a whirlwind of female hormones and thoughts and dreams and expectations and it's an entire world
No.
view.
So my
She
question
has a
goes back.
vision.
My
She has a
question,
vision
I
of
know, no.
everything,
So that's what I'm
and she
saying.
wants you to be a part of it.
My question goes back to it's always the same question, and I'm asking it again and again and again. I'm not gonna get. I don't think I'm gonna get an answer. When we are not in the picture and they are by themselves, living in their own apartment by themselves,
Yeah.
they have their own life, they have their own schedule, they do whatever they want, whenever they want. They're living, they have their career. And the vision that they have for their life doesn't, or whatever they expect to happen from whoever or wherever or whenever, as a result of whatever effort they made or didn't make, doesn't pan out. Who do they blame? Who do they talk to? What happens? Do they scream at someone? Do they scream at themselves in the mirror? Do they scream into the air? I've seen videos of these ladies. They go into the forest, like that whole shit.
Look,
What
the answer
happens
is
when a
simple.
man is not involved in that whole
They'll
tornado?
look. It's going to be a different answer for every lady,
What
but
usually happens?
okay, hold on. Formula
Yeah,
can probably determine what particular thing it's going to be.
yeah,
It's going to be what's available.
okay,
Okay, if it's if it wasn't a man, then it's going to be their mother
yeah,
and possibly their father. It's going to be someone. That's just that particular thing is not. I'm not going to isolate to being like a female thing because we all
yeah,
tend to kind of
yeah.
blame
We
what's
lash
available
out,
to
whatever.
blame.
Yeah, yeah,
We'll blame God. We'll blame
yeah.
the cat.
No,
We'll
when I say blame, I'm talking about you're actively, like physically lashing out at something or someone,
Yeah,
or you're like having a
your
antagonism with someone.
your mind will try to concoct something to take the blame for it, so you could lash out.
Yeah,
Sometimes women, as people, right, they'll end up blaming themselves, and it'll become like a self-loathing thing. It's whatever's available.
yeah,
Okay, it depends on the choices.
yeah.
Okay, so um, the point, look, what I'm trying to look to finish this like
Yes,
point, that women are a uh, an emotional tornado, and I'm not. It's not me making fun of them. It's not. It's me acknowledging a certain state that God put them into. They're not to blame for the state that they're in.
is
God
there,
created a situation
what's the Kabbalistic
where,
explanation for why he did that?
well, the whole olam tohu situation with the shattering of the vessels and the sparks of holiness, and the fallen the death of the kings of Edom, right? The feminine aspect of the kings of Edom that collapsed, right?
Hmm.
So essentially, we could say it's not described as the queens, but we could say to a certain extent, at least conceptually, the queens of Edom.
Yeah.
Even the idea of Lilith, right? These are all overlapping ideas, right? These are all the same ideas, just discussed in various different symbolic ways, metaphors, right? The shattering of the vessels, the death of the Edomite kings. This is the same story. Okay. The feminine aspect, something has fallen within the feminine aspect of the fabric of reality. We're not talking about women, we're talking about even men, everything, even the book, the shelf, the cat, the table, everything has a male and a female aspect to it. The feminine aspect has fallen. You ever heard of the concept of tikkun olam?
Yeah.
The real tikkun olam, not Bill Clinton's tikkun olam.
Yeah.
The real Jewish Torah tikkun olam is the rectification of the feminine aspect of the universe,
Yeah.
not women. Obviously, women have a healthier dose of the feminine aspect in all ways than
Hmm.
everything else, than that jar of peas,
Hmm.
that can of peas, or the headphones that you're wearing, right? So again, people are going to listen to this thing, we're singling out women. The feminine aspect within everything has to be rectified.
Yeah.
Okay, there is an ideal feminine aspect, and that aspect has fallen. Right. This is the basic idea of the shattering of the vessels. Okay, so Mashiach, right, is, or Zeranpin, right? This idea of Zeranpin, right? What is Zeranpin supposed to do? He's supposed to rectify Malchus, Nukva. You hear me?
Yeah.
So Zeranpin is sent to help to shine the light on Nukva, right? Thereby rectifying her, and then she reflects the holy light back.
Yeah.
And then because she's the universe itself, that holy light is reflected throughout the entire universe, filling it with light, rectifying it. So that's that whole saga that I just attempted to describe is supposed to be fulfilled on a micro level in every human marriage of a man and a woman. Every husband and wife is was sent here to do their part on a microcosmic level in rectifying the macro, right? Folks, what I mean to say is, like, imagine the universe is a husband and a wife, hypothetically speaking, right? In order to in order to fix their relationship, every little husband and wife all the trillions and billions of husbands and wives that live in the universe, right? Every single individual relationship that goes right has some impact on the big relationship in the sky. Here's another way of looking at it. Here's a little dumber. It's a little bit dumber. Imagine there's the big bicycle in the sky and it has a pop tire or the chain got loose from the gear. In order to fix the chain, in order to reattach the chain to the gear, to the pedals, bicycle, every single little bicycle of every individual being that exists within the universe, right, has to fix their bicycle, thereby contributing to the fixing of the great bicycle in the sky. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
That's why you have to get married. That's like the primary reason.
I agree.
Like, why would anybody do that otherwise? Think about it. Like people who don't know what I just described,
yeah,
they're crazy for getting married. Like I don't even understand the motivation. It must be an instinctual thing too. Thank God.
But Frank, you're forgetting it. Whatever happened to love? It's like what's his name?
That's part of it. No, that's
Sam Kinison. Love. I'm not like the other. Can I show folks at home? Raw. Can I show them? First, I want to show, before I do that, I want to show this with the magician thing. And then I want to say something about Iran that I just read.
Yeah, maybe Khomeini's dead.
Well, they killed some other guy in IRGC just now, supposedly, allegedly. But this is so this is the scene where Anta Yelkin, Zichrono Levarcha, Russian Jewish kid who tragically left the world in a quote unquote freak accident a few years ago. Very talented kid. He was in Star Trek, by the way. He played the Russian. Who's the Russian in Star Trek? Volkov? Volkov? He played Volkov in the new Star Wars. Chekhov. Well, not Volkov, Chekhov. So this is Anton Yelkin in Curb Your Enthusiasm.
They were helpless. They were hopeless. Then along came Bialy.
Good morning.
Hey, by the way.
Hey, by the way.
Your little cousin finished all the grape nuts this morning.
You know what? He's a guest in our house. We should just...
How much longer, by the way?
I don't know. 3 or 4 days? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
All right. Hey, if it's okay with you, I'm taking your car. I got a meeting with Mel Brooks.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
And you know what I'm thinking? Maybe while you're out, you could get it washed.
It looks pretty clean, by the way.
Do you mind?
But it's totally clean.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hey.
I gotta show you something. Card trick.
Oh, card trick. Okay.
Okay. You see this deck?
Yeah?
One deck.
Yeah?
Now you have to tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Now this is your card.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
I'd like you to shuffle this, please.
All right.
And efficiently and
Yeah.
any way possible.
Okay, fine. So I'll shuffle.
Okay, and this is your card.
Wow.
Yeah.
How'd you do that?
I'm sorry, I can't tell you. Sorry.
Come on, just do it. How'd you do the trick?
No, magicians don't tell people how they do their tricks.
Yeah, well, you're not really a magician.
Oh, yeah, I am.
Well, because you do one trick, that makes you a magician?
Did I trick you?
Were you a magician before you knew how to do that trick?
Oh, not really.
Well, who taught you how to do the trick?
A magician.
Okay, so you weren't a magician. Mm-hmm. A magician taught you how to do the trick. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not a magician. Now you're a magician, so you teach me how to do it.
I can't just because you said I am a magician. I can't teach you.
You didn't know that trick before the magician taught it to you, right?
Yeah.
So why did the magician tell you?
He can tell that I'm a magician.
Well, you could tell that I'm a magician.
But I'm a magician, just naturally a magician.
That's what you're saying. I'm saying I'm naturally a magician.
But you don't know any tricks.
And you're just not. I mean, see, because I'm a magician, if you were naturally a magician, I'd feel that you were naturally a magician.
Are you going to tell me this trick?
No.
Magicians don't reveal their
Fine,
secrets.
I got to go.
You guys are a lot alike.
Yeah, except he's not a magician.
Dude, that
was a good line.
See, we're laughing, but you notice that entire scene. He comes up to his wife. He's like, la 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 la. I have a meeting with Mel Brooks. She's like, okay. By the way, can you like I have a meeting with Mel freaking Brooks.
Okay, play Ari. Play Ari with
Oh,
with the psychiatrist.
oh my God. First I'm gonna play dude, you notice and he's like the wife, it's all jokes, but like it's designed to make him look like an idiot.
Yeah, he does. What's worse is that he wrote that.
Yeah, he did. He wrote the whole like the concept that they just riff off. They don't actually have lines, they riff off. But yeah, he wrote the concept. He wrote the idea.
And instead of, by the way, she should have said, "Come on, just teach him the trick."
Yeah.
That's all he. Why didn't she show him any support?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Eggs freaking Ackley.
When lives depend on physical.
So this is Sam Kinison. Sam Kinison was actually a very like sentimental guy who always
Yeah.
wanted to find love. You can tell by the way he's describing what he's about to describe.
Says, I'm having a good fucking time!
Not that part.
This kind of clothes you just put on and goes, come on! You wanted to party? Fuck it, let's go! Oh, I just love women! My record proves that. I've been in love about 9 times now. And it's been real every time, folks. Every time it was gonna last forever! Remember, you fucking bitches! Forever! I buy it every time, I gotta tell you. I buy it every fucking time. I do, man. Love comes to my life and goes, come on! Come on! Come on, this is love! This is love! Come on! Oh, come on! I'm not like the others. No, this is new love. Come on, trust me. I wouldn't lie to you 10 times in a row, fuckhead. Come on. Come on, open the door. Let's see what she's like. I thought it was the door to love. It was the door to hell. True, man. So true. But what else are you gonna do? You gotta keep falling in love. You gotta believe in it. What are you gonna do? Give sheep the vote? You gotta believe in love, right? That wasn't very funny. Women, I love women. I swear to God, it may not seem like it. I fucking love women. What am I gonna do? It's so funny. They're always on the audience going, "Well, how come you don't talk about men? How come you don't say what's wrong with men? How come you only talk about what women do? How come you don't know? There's a reason! There's a fucking reason! Because a man never broke my fucking heart! A man never lied to me in love! A man never made me want to drive my car into a fucking wall! So... when I talk about love, when I talk about relationships, I'm going to take the male side. That's all I have to work with here, folks. But I love women. I do love women. I'm not with one right now because it's a lot hard to do this act and mingle after the show.
Yeah, right.
Or do this act and mingle after the show.
Or do this podcast, right?
Yes,
Like,
yes.
yeah.
Here, Ari Gold.
Luckily, nobody watches us, so don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. We're shadow banned everywhere, so it doesn't really matter. Here, Ari Gold at the therapist. Oh my God. There's actually a lot of these because they're constantly
Like his wife is an example of an unwise woman.
correct. Absolutely correct. Oh my God.
There are wise women. I've met them. I know
Yeah.
them. I even have a couple of them in my family.
Yeah.
So, so there's,
Oh goodness gracious.
Depressed, no. Irritated, yes.
He hasn't had a week, and he slept past 7 o'clock again this morning. I haven't seen him sleep past 5:30 since 1993.
So do you think losing this Vincent Chase is really the problem, Ari?
No.
Yes.
What do you think the
this is
problem
not
is
the,
then?
this is not no,
Yeah.
I don't think there is a problem.
this is not the one.
Oh, it's the one where they like attack him. Oh, let's see.
No, this is the one where he's like he has to take the phone call during
Oh
the.
yeah. I know. Here, 1 second. Uh, I think it's this. It's this one. Yeah, we saw this.
Yeah, recently.
Yeah. The hell?
Sorry.
I asked for 1 hour out of a day for his undivided attention. And I can't even have that.
You can have it if you want to live in Agora fucking Hills and go to group therapy, but if you want a Beverly Hills mansion and you want a country club membership and you want 9 weeks a year and a Tuscan villa, then I'm going to need to take a call when it comes in at noon on a motherfucking Wednesday.
See, that's it. There it is.
You know what? I have to take this.
I asked for 1 hour.
Yeah, he has to take this. Yeah. Take it or leave it, lady. And she will take it. Meaning she'll take it. She'll leave and she'll take it. Half. Here. Now we play Eddie Murphy.
No.
Fufu.
I can't. Hey, I'm not gonna be able to laugh right now. I'm just not like not
Why?
after that scene. After that scene, I'm just getting infuriated.
What, you can't laugh about Fufu?
Not when I'm in rage. Like
Well, you want to be enraged more, Mr. Frank? Trump wants to strike Iran only if the U.S. can destroy Fordo enrichment facility with a bunker bomb. The Pentagon slash DTRA, I don't know what that is, concluded earlier this year they don't go deep enough and totally destroying Fordo requires a tactical nuke.
So listen to this. Israel said they can go alone and they'll do it alone.
Yes.
We started the show with that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Now I wanted to discuss what I really wanted to spend the show on was to talk about, well, why, it really seems to, I'm just speaking to myself now for a second. I was thinking to myself, it seems to me that Israel has shocked the world and essentially conquered Iran pretty much, okay, without even really harming civilians, right? And it was absolutely astonishing and striking the act that they have accomplished, right? This operation.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to think that it won't continue with success. Okay. And I was thinking to myself, what is this discussion about America's participation? It is practically unnecessary. So I was thinking to myself, it must be, if it doesn't make any sense strategically or physically, there must be some kind of spiritual thing going on, underlying spiritual reason why Trump said we. Remember, he said a couple of days ago, we are everything that Israel is doing, right? He's tweeting or he's releasing messages on Truth Social saying we did this and we did that. I don't understand what he means by that. Does he mean that he says we because they're using American equipment? He says we because what does that mean?
I don't know. I think he means is that I think they did this whole shtick they did the whole shtick with the past 2 months basically lulling Iran into sleep.
Maybe he didn't explain it though, but
Yeah.
I want to find the specific because I've been releasing a lot of posts.
And then I'll tell you what I think is happening here, Mr. Frank, because we've spoken about this topic before, the topic which I'm going to mention.
Well, I wanted to offer an explanation by actually playing Rabbi Weisberg's last video.
Before you do that, I want to say something.
Oh, here it is.
Okay.
Here's President Trump. We now have complete and total control of the skies over Iran. I was confused when I saw that. Iran had good sky trackers and other defensive equipment, and plenty of it. But it doesn't compare to American-made, conceived, and manufactured stuff, he writes in quotes, right? Nobody does it better than the good old USA. Okay, so, I was astonished by that statement, literally astonished. Part of me is like, what? This guy can't does he have to claim credit for every single success? Like everything good that happens is because of him. You know what I mean? Like I usually don't think that way, but that one made me, folks, you have to understand, all day long on the news, all over social media, there's like an infinite amount of people who are saying, don't Israel's pulling us into a war. Meanwhile, not a thing, all only the Jews are fighting. Only Israelis are risking their lives and flying in there and bombing and doing all the dangerous stuff, actually doing the actual fighting. And then he says, we,
Yeah.
right? Without without any official statement that yes, we are doing this together. So at first I got mad, and then I calmed down. I tried to think, well, what, maybe there's something deeper going on, right? More than just he's saying we because of the equipment. So I wrote just I wrote a statement to that posting. I wrote, I love President Trump, but it'd be nice if he acknowledged that all the fighting in Iran is being done by the Jews, right? Yes, with American weapons, but still, although it's possible he's communicating something deeper here about the relationship between America and Israel. We've spoken about this. That's a running theme on our show, that in our discussions, that at least I offered my opinion that I think that America, when all is said and done, see that actually this is a collection of the lost tribes of Israel. America is a collection, a gathering post, not a post, a gathering area, a staging area for the revelation of the identity of the lost tribes of Israel when Mashiach comes.
Listen, it's possible.
Okay, because I think that, and because he said we, and because I know, it's obvious to everyone that there's some kind of unusual relationship between America and Israel, right? And most of what we're hearing in the world is people's response to that reality.
Yeah.
Tucker hates it. Most Americans are good with it.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, how do you feel? Basically, everything is the entire discussion is based on how do you feel about the obvious connection between America and Israel?
Yeah.
What is this connection that they have?
Yeah.
Right. Like there's different people with different opinions, and like why this? Oh, the Israelis are infiltrating the Jews. It's because the Jews of all the conspiracy theorists and all these retards. Okay.
Yeah.
The reality is, it's probably something about most Americans that God collected them here because they have Hebrew heritage.
Yeah, it's possible.
Okay. And so I was hoping that after I said that, we could perhaps play Rabbi Weisberg's video after you say what you're going to say. And I just wanted to say that we've been playing Rabbi Weisberg's videos, but we started them from the other way, from his earlier videos, and we wanted to move up. This particular, because of the circumstances, I thought maybe it's a good idea to also play his latest video because he touches upon this particular point. I think he makes a really, and he offers a lot of amazing revelations about the fulfillment of biblical prophecy, which is astonishing, which I think people need to know.
So it's funny that you're saying this because it ties into what I want to say, which is we've spoken about this before, the famous thing, and maybe you can go, I don't know where to find this list because I want to go through this list like kind of quickly or relatively quickly and then play Rabbi Weisberg's thing. The list of all of the things that Trump has done on not consciously on Chabad holidays, has done for Israel and or the Jewish people. And by the way, notice how now he said, oh, I'm going to decide this and that within 2 weeks. Well, in about 10 days is the Yortzeit of the Lubavitch Rebbe, the anniversary of the passing of the Lubavitch Rebbe. So it would be so fitting if this regime collapsed on that day. I would like for it to happen sooner. You're muted, Frank.
Today's the best day, actually. I was really
today is also the best day because of 23rd of Sivan.
23rd of Sivan. Can you tell the folks at home what that?
The 23rd of Sivan is the day because what happened with you, Yana, was Haman made the decree against the Jews, and even after Haman was hanged, the decree was still in effect. And so Mordechai, uh, actually, this is when he received permission from the king, from King Ahasuerus, to allow the Jews to defend themselves because because you're talking about a giant, you don't have cell phones or WhatsApp. It's a giant empire. As far as they know, there's still a decree to go hunt Jews in their locale, right? It's imagine if like Haman decrees, okay, kill all he's sitting in Tehran or wherever he's sitting, Shushan, and he's like, okay, I'll kill all the Jews, and then some guy in like back then, let's say they had whatever it said, I don't know, even in like Turkey, what was there, whatever, right? A guy sitting in Turkey, he's just like, well, as far as he knows, he's supposed to kill the Jews. He's supposed to go hunt Jews, the whole community. So I guess this is what, 3 months after that, Mordecai was like, no, okay, we have to give basically the signal to everybody, a decree, no more. It's basically a reversal of decrees. It's a very powerful day for reversal of decrees.
Can I touch it up just a little bit?
Yeah.
The king's decree is not allowed to be rescinded once it's
Correct.
out.
Correct.
According to, the Assyrian emperors of the time, right?
Yeah.
But he can issue another decree,
Yeah.
right? That could counteract it, not cancel it, but counteract it. Meaning you can create two opposing things happening, and whatever the result is,
Yeah.
Whatever happens.
Yeah.
So Ahasuerus allowed Mordecai to issue a decree saying the Jews are allowed to protect themselves.
Yeah. Correct. And it's funny because the Jews, if you look at history, the Jews always, it's almost like we're waiting for someone else to decree to allow us to give us the green light to protect ourselves.
That's the most infuriating thing about us.
It's astounding, and that's how
When I say us.
That's how Hashem made us, and that's how Hashem made the world.
I feel like the people who are in that mindset, the entire Israeli government,
yeah,
I feel no connection to those people. I can't believe we're part of the same nation.
Yeah, me neither.
But it's a fact, and I have to accept that is an element within the Jewish people. Yeah. And unfortunately, God elevated them to the positions of power. The people who wait around for permission.
Yeah.
To do to do basic stuff like, oh yes, I'm allowed to defend ourselves.
Yeah.
Can you imagine saying that to literally anybody else on earth, any other nation? Can you imagine telling the Eskimos there's like some kind of like rival tribe that's attacking to kill them, and you tell them you're allowed to defend yourself?
Frank, speaking of which,
they're like,
Frank, I hate to cut you off.
Sherlock.
Frank, I hate to cut you off. I apologize. Writers were saying this. An Israeli defense source tells, this is like this WhatsApp thing. Israel has decided to eliminate Iran's supreme leader Khamenei at the first opportunity and not wait for the U.S. Something big is going to happen tonight, the source added. So there's a lot of talk about this. One second. Iranian accounts claim an IRGC high-ranking official was assassinated in broad daylight. I was not able to independently. Okay, so that wouldn't be him because he's in a bunker. But I don't know. I don't know. It would be an auspicious day to do that.
I want to tell you something. I'm going to give you a summary of all of history of creation.
Okay.
Really quick.
And then you can give me the list of things that Trump did on about holidays.
Yeah.
I forgot it.
I'll read it out.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's what happened. God created creation, created existence, created people because people are who he wants to have a relationship with. It was a rocky thing because in order for people to have a willing relationship with God, they have to choose to do what he wants over the alternatives that he gave them. And he made the alternatives look better. Okay? Right? So I guess he wanted it to really be a challenge to choose to have a relationship with him. Now, the alternatives, they're not really better. They just look better. They look funner. Yeah. Okay? So basically, God's like, here's a bunch of stuff I want you to do. Here's a bunch of stuff I don't want you to do. Now, I want you to do the stuff I want you to do, and I want you not to do the stuff that I don't want you to do. But the stuff that I don't want you to do seems to be a lot funnier. It's a lot easier to do it,
Yeah, it has
not
more
do it.
has more bells and whistles. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
right. But I'm going to give you the option because this has to be a willing relationship. Okay. So humanity consistently failed that, and he said, all right, you know what? Since you guys are not doing this, I'm going to need to send something into the world which can help. All you essentially have to do is let it in and welcome it. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to completely cooperate with it in every possible way. But just by welcoming in this new element, I'll consider that on some level that you do want to have a relationship with me. I'm going to create a nation among all of you, one nation that's different than everybody. Now, this nation is going to represent me and my interests. And if you are to, let's say, welcome this nation, and by welcome, all you have to do is not eradicate it. Let it exist. Allow me to have a little piece of land on the entire earth that I gave you, all the abundance and all the earth and everything. Allow me a little sliver of my own creation, right? That you will allow and tolerate. My nation will live on this land and they will fulfill my will. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. But that nation itself, just its identity, the position that it represents me. All you have to do is tolerate it. You don't have to go there. You don't have to do everything that they do. It'd be nice if you emulated it, because I'm really sending it to be a light for you guys to emulate. So I greatly welcome you going there, visiting, learning, getting to know me. In fact, if you come there and you hang out there, you come to visit and you speak to the people there and you ask them about me, they'll explain it to you. They'll teach you about me. And if you implement any of that into your life, I'll welcome that and I'll consider that like you saying yes to the relationship. All you have to do is just tolerate it. I'm not forcing you to like it, but you have to at least tolerate it and let it function and let it operate. The world said, no, hell no. We don't feel comfortable with anything that invasive into our free will. We're stuck we like the choices and we want to remain forever with choices to do the opposite of what you want us to do. But God said, well, hold on a second. If you recall, I'm the one that makes you exist every second. Now, you could choose to not have a relationship with me. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not so interested in creating you every second for you to reject me forever. Okay? I'm going to get fed up with it at some point, and your entire existence relies on me. And I was hoping that during the course of 6,000 years, you might come to understand that and possibly appreciate some aspect of that reality. And then maybe in the slightest way want to do something that makes me happy, because I extend to you existence that you didn't have. Your entire existence relies upon me loaning some of my existence to you. Right? If you like to exist and you like life, right? Then I was hoping that you would acknowledge what is the cause of that. Show some gratitude and have a relationship with your creator. and if you don't do that after a while, I don't understand why this situation should continue, because remember, I created the world for my purposes, not for your purposes. Okay? So in response, the world said, uh all right, we'll tolerate one of them. Only one. We can't tolerate the whole nation. There's one guy, only one guy. That's the response. That's the response of the world responded. That a huge chunk of it responded. There's only one. We're not going to tolerate what you want. We can't tolerate an entire nation of these guys. Maybe one of them. That's a summary of history.
And he gets to die for our sins, supposedly, allegedly.
Yeah, but he has to. Yeah, right. It's not. By the way,
he gets his hands and feet nailed.
If you think about it, that's the most morbid symbol that you could possibly imagine. Because if you really worship this, like every other religion, right, has their god, like, some kind of like the statue is some kind of like epic thing, in their moment of strength, where to make him like, Zeus standing there looking epic, healthy and strong. He's all ripped, and he's wearing a toga and he looks cool, right? And and the one time they decide to worship a Jew, right? But they have to make him like, being like tortured.
He's in the process of dying, and then they put him on a necklace and they wear the necklace.
Right.
Hey, look what I'm wearing, a dead Jew.
Right. We can't even accept him. Like, okay, it's not even that. You're right. It's like, all right, not only is it just we can't tolerate an entire nation of them, we're only going to tolerate one of these guys. But at the same time, we need to see him suffering, because you can't make him happy. You can't be happy and content and happy.
I'm going to hang him on a wall in our place of worship as in a position of suffering.
Right. It can't be like in a moment where he's like partying.
To remind us, we can do whatever we want, but this Jew has to suffer for all our sins.
Yeah. Okay.
Because apparently he said he would.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Mr. Frank, speaking of which, so let's read. With that said, let's read the list of all the things that Trump did for the Jews on Chabad holidays. Do you have that list? I can't find it anywhere.
Yeah, I got it. How do you like my summary?
That's a nice segue. Yeah, it's a good summary. It's a nice. I mean, it's pretty much what this is, I guess.
All right. Second.
Where do you find this list, by the way? Where do you have it?
It's a message I got from the rabbi.
Oh, from Reuven Wolf.
Yeah, I just go to.
Can you send this to me?
I sent it to you 50,000 times. Literally 50,000 times. Okay, I'll send it again. This is going to be the last time. Okay,
please.
Okay, one second. I'll just read it and then I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
Here we go. He sent this to me in October of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The 19th of Kislev in the year 5777, which was overlapping that year with December 19th, 2016, President Trump is voted to be the 45th president of the United States, by the electoral.
Confirmed, yeah. Trump confirmed by the...
Yeah. A little bit later, the 11th of Nisan of April 2017, right? April 6th, 2017. Now, hold on a second. What's the 19th of Kislev? Let's go back to the first one for a second. When President Trump became president, right?
Yeah.
What's Yud Kislev? The 19th of Kislev, right?
That's yeah.
That is the
Rosh Hashanah of Hasidus. That is the holiday. Like
explain.
It's when Hasidut was essentially It's the first of all it's the anniversary.
This will be meaningless unless we know what it means, right? Like
yes, the new year of Hasidism. It is it celebrates the release of the Chabad, the founder of Chabad, Shno Zalman of Liadi, who wrote the Tanya. He wrote it partially, and the Tanya is the seminal work of Chabad. He wrote it partially actually in prison, when he was in prison. And it was to bring, basically to bring the teachings of Chassidut to all the Jews in the world. And so it's known as the it's called the Rosh Hashanah of Hasidus, the New Year
Can
of
I
Hasidus.
can I add a little bit of
Yeah.
insight into that? Something I
Yeah.
heard.
Yeah.
So why is it such a big day? Okay, he was let out of prison.
Mhm.
Why is that the day? Why not the day that he wrote the book or he published the first
Yeah.
book? Why the day he was let? Okay, so the answer to that is well, why did he go to prison in the first place? So besides the trumped up charges against him, the true spiritual reason was that he revealed secret Torah teachings. He revealed extremely intimate information about God.
Yeah.
And published it. God has, again, he wants to have, I've been taught, it's been explained to me through Torah learning that he wants a relationship.
Yeah.
But it's not a generic relationship. And it's not the same level with every person. Every person has a basic relationship with God, right? As creation to creator, right? And then it's up to the creation to get closer to God, right?
Yeah.
And when you get closer to God, right? Or anybody, anything, you learn more about them. The more time you spend with them, the more intimate information you learn about them, right? Even as a servant, right? Gets to know things about their employer, right?
Yeah.
The more time they spend with them, right? Even on that type of relationship, right? How much more so a personal relationship, right? So God intended on revealing more and more personal information about himself throughout the generations. It wasn't available to everyone all at once. Even at the giving of at Mount Sinai, everybody received it. But as you go through the generations, right, you see that it didn't stay with everyone, right? The most personal information tended to stick to or stay with the people who deserved it the most, the people who served God the most, the people who wanted to have the closest possible relationship with him, right? And those people ended up kind of bearing God's intimate information, right? So, but God wanted this information revealed at certain stages in history, right? Eventually that it's accessible to all of humanity. That's what Kabbalah is, folks. It's God's personal information. It's metaphorically speaking, the kind of spices he likes in his soup, the kind of sheets he likes to sleep on. I'm talking, I'm using allegory here. I'm not speaking literally, okay? But God has preferences. He shared his general preferences with humanity at Mount Sinai at the giving of the Torah. But there's more and more specific preferences, right? The more you learn about it, God has infinite preferences. The more time you spend with him, the more he reveals to you about his preferences. All right. You know, what's God's favorite color? Well, I'm trying to bring it down to getting to know a person more, right? His moods, his preferences, right? That's what Kabbalah is. It's very intimate information. Now, before information is revealed, there is a question about when is the appropriate time to reveal it to the general public. For those who know it, the Kabbalists, the real Kabbalists, not the Hermetic dilettantes, but real Torah Kabbalists, okay? There's a question. They don't know. It's not always clear. God doesn't always make it clear when the exact appropriate time is. And yet a lot of these Kabbalists, even when there was a question of, is it too soon, they still revealed it anyway. And many of them, as a result, died. They were punished for it. They died young. They got sick with some. The Arizal himself died at 39. Okay. Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, I think he was like barely a zygote before, you know what I mean? Like he was very young. I'm not making a joke out of it. He was very young. The amount of material that he wrote and the wisdom he revealed in the world was so tremendous, but he was such a young man. He's like the Mozart of the Torah world. Just actually the other way around, the Havdil. Okay.
Yeah.
And he was so young. Rabbi Ari Kaplan and my brother. The people, this is a common thing that great Kabbalists who reveal intimate information about God, very often they reveal too much and they're punished for it.
Too much and at their peril.
At their own peril, but they do it knowingly.
Yeah.
Okay? They sacrifice themselves. All right? There's a system. There's a spiritual system put in place. There's rewards, there's punishments. If you break rules, there are consequences. They knew the consequences. They in some level broke the rules for a good reason, right? They just wanted people to know more about God. They wanted more people to have access. And even before they knew it was appropriate, they saw the suffering of the people. They saw there was a need for it in their estimation, and they revealed it. Okay, so bringing us back to Yud-Tes Kislev with the first Rebbe of Lubavitch, right? Rabbi, the Alter Rebbe, call him, right? So he wrote a book called the Tanya. Now this is a book of great revelation, of intimate information about God. Now, so when he wrote it, he published it. Okay, and then he was arrested, and he was wondering if he was going to be executed. And it looked like there was a good chance that he was. So the fact that he was released from prison and not executed was taken as a sign from God that this information can be shared with the world, that it is God's will that this incident information that was once only shared with the holiest people, the people the most dedicated to service of God, right? Now it was shared with everyone. So it was so for Hasidim, this knowledge being available to all people was such a joyous occasion that they decided that they call it the Rosh Hashanah of Hasidus, of the Hasidic movement. Okay, because he wasn't killed like many other Kabbalists were.
Yeah,
revealing such information.
Sure.
So on that day. So now that you know the importance of that day, and that's a Chabad holiday.
Yeah.
Okay.
So on that day, Trump was confirmed.
That's when Trump, right? So right on that day, in the year 5777, right? Again, this is called the 19th Kislev. On that particular year, in 2016, the English date that overlaps with that holiday, President Trump was voted to become the 40th.
It's ironic because eventually we will come to see that someone tried to kill him.
We'll get to that. Next. Okay, so that's a very interesting symmetry, right? There's a synchronicity, right? Yes. That on this important Chabad Hasidic day, right? Really important to all Jews, right? He became the president, Trump. Next. There's another important holiday, the 11th day of the Hebrew month of Nisan. This is the month that Passover is in. In fact, Passover starts just a few days after this. But on the 11th, a few days before Passover, right? That is a Chabad holiday, right? It's the day. It's the Lubavitcher Rebbe's birthday. It's the seventh Lubavitcher Rebbe, right? Who disappeared from view in 1994, right? That's his birthday. And it's a big holiday in Chabad. And a lot of other people, even not Chabad, they celebrate, okay?
Yeah.
So, and many non-Jewish people, like, trust me, Malay celebrates this holiday. The president of Argentina, folks, celebrates this holiday. Trust me.
We've seen him. We've seen him.
Okay, so so on this holiday in the year 2017, which happened to be April 6, 2017, This is the Rebbe's birthday. Trump strikes Syria's Assad's forces, his first large military strike.
Yeah.
Now, folks, if you recall, Obama before Trump, Obama was dealing with Assad, and he had all these red lines,
Yeah.
where Obama said, "That's a red line," but then when
Yeah.
Assad crossed the red line, Obama did nothing.
Yep.
So the moment Assad tested Trump, Trump struck him and struck him really, really hard.
Yeah.
That was Trump's first military decision. Happened to be on the Rebbe's birthday.
Yeah.
Next, again, the 19th of Kislev, this huge holiday that we went into great lengths to explain to you. The following year, right, in 2017, right? What did Trump do? It was officially announced to the whole world that America considers Jerusalem to be the capital of Israel. Now, before that, if you all remember a little bit of history, right? If you don't have the memory of a goldfish, you know that all previous presidents, they promised to do this, but they never would. And according to I think the State Department or something like that, they listed Tel Aviv as the capital of Israel, when Israel itself calls its capital Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Most disrespectful way of relating to a country.
Yeah.
But anyway, Trump rectified that on the Rebbe's birthday.
Yeah.
Next, the 8th night of Hanukkah. As you all know, Hanukkah is an 8-night holiday, right?
Yeah.
And now, this is not a specific Chabad holiday. This is just a general Jewish holoday, right? That all Jews, all religious Jews observe. Okay. And ironically, non-religious Jews. We're not going to get into that. But on that day, on the 8th night of Hanukkah, which overlaps with December 20th, 2017, right?
Okay.
Trump frees the most famous Chabad guy in the world at that time.
Oh yeah, Rubashkin.
Shalom Rubashkin. Folks, there's a guy whose name is Rabbi Shalom Rubashkin.
Yeah.
And he produced like a huge amount of the kosher meat.
Processors is called.
That was the name of his company.
Yeah.
It was in Iowa. He had a farm and a slaughterhouse, a kosher slaughterhouse, and he produced a very large percentage of the kosher meat to the Orthodox Jewish community worldwide.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's very important, right? And he was certainly the most successful kosher meat producer.
Yeah.
Okay. And there are certain local people, Jew haters, anti-Semites, who wanted to sabotage his operation. And they certainly didn't like that he existed within Iowa, right? That's not too many Jews in Iowa, right? And he's very vulnerable to all sorts of sabotage and attack. And he did do something. He did some kind of minor infraction, some kind of like silly legalistic, something that usually that a person will get a slap on the wrist.
People don't get 27 years for that kind of stuff. They get like
he was put in jail for 27. It was a complete kangaroo court.
Yeah.
And it was obvious to everybody. And he was like in jail for like 8 years. And people were writing about it. Jews, non-Jews, just decent people from like all over the world were like, this is America? Wow, this is really bad. Like this is like major corruption. Like even people who didn't like Jews were like, all right, but this is not good for the system. This is a problem, right? It was not a minor thing that everybody was like, well, everybody who with any kind of legal expert was like, what happened there? But anyway, Trump released him from jail on the 8th night of Hanukkah of that year. So again, not a Chabad holiday specifically, but again, the most famous Chabad guy in the world. So it is Chabad related. Okay. So I don't know if you guys are noticing a pattern here. I can guarantee you, Trump didn't notice the pattern, but
no.
While it's happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next. So far, how many was that? That's three,
That's four.
four. One, two, three,
Four.
four. That
I'm
is
keeping.
four.
I'm writing them down. Keeping track.
Okay, that's four synchronicities
Mhm.
between major decisions that Chabad that Trump makes, but he does them on these days that are important specifically to the Lubavitcher Rebbe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Next here's number 5 now.
Mm-hmm.
This is the 28th day of Sivan.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, we're currently in the month of Sivan,
Yes.
and the 28th day of Sivan is in 5 days.
Is in 5 days.
Okay. So, and it's a holiday in Chabad because that happens to be the day that the Lubavitcher Rebbe came to America
Mm.
when he escaped the Nazis.
Yeah.
And he got through Europe and got to America. So this is celebrated as a day by his followers, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a big celebration.
Okay.
So so this overlapped with June 11th in 2018. So on June 11th in 2018, this is the first historical meeting of a U.S. president with the world's craziest dictator, Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
And he did it to curb nuclear, to nuclear threats from North Korea, right?
Yeah.
Little Rocket Man. Remember when he called him Little Rocket Man?
Yeah.
So when he met him, he got there, right? He finally calmed him down. It was the first time ever that a U.S. president was able to have any kind of easing of relationship with North Korea.
Yeah.
It was a miracle. Okay.
Yep.
So that's the day that the U.S. president that Trump decided to do this incredible thing. It was on the day that the Rebbe, it was this big holiday to Chabad. You can interpret what does it mean, why specifically that Chabad holiday. But what I'm really hoping is that you folks see a pattern here. You see a synchronicity. Okay, that's the 5th occurrence of a major Trump action done on a Chabad holiday.
Yeah.
The Jew haters,
yeah,
Groypers are like salivating right now. They're like,
yeah,
like
yes.
I'm hoping that they watch this and go crazy with this and reveal this to the world.
Yep. I'm
The
gonna make a clip
Groypers-
out. I'll make a clip out of this, dude.
The Groypers are going to reveal the Rebbe to the world.
Oh yeah, big time. And they're gonna say, "Oh, you see, Trump has Chabad guys telling him what to do."
The 7 laws of Noah. They're going to chop off
Maybe.
Christians' heads.
Yeah.
Okay,
No, what's
next.
the next one? Yeah.
Okay. Purim, right? And this is just another general holiday,
Yeah.
right? To the Jewish people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which obviously is also important to Chabad, right? I think
Mhm.
Chabad really takes Purim to a different level.
Yeah.
But this is just, so what did he do on that holiday? On March 21st,
Mm-hmm.
President Trump tweets that it's time to recognize the Golan Heights as part of Israel, as officially part of Israel, because it was considered by the U.S. government a contested territory.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Yes.
Again, the Rebbe's birthday the following year, right?
Mhm.
With Aleph Nisan, the 11th day of
Yeah.
Nisan
Yeah.
in 5779, which overlapped with
Yeah.
April 16th, 2019. Notre Dame goes up in flames. The church that symbolized God's dismissal of the Jewish people. So the Catholic, they built all sorts of shrines and buildings and paintings and murals and statues, right? All over Europe and all over the Middle East, where it shows how God rejects the Jews and accepts the Christians, right?
Yeah.
And I think, I'm not sure if it's Notre Dame or a church in Germany that has a statue of two women, one of them like standing tall and proud and elegant, the other one kind of like disheveled on the ground, right? So the two women are Christianity and Judaism,
Yeah.
and obviously they depicted the Jewish woman as all disheveled a
Correct.
wretch on the floor, and okay. So Notre Dame, the entire building is the symbol, which matches that statue that I just described. Okay. So it was on that day, okay, that it goes up and I'm sure the Jew haters who are hearing this are going to say, "Oh, the Jews did it," or something like that. Doesn't matter anymore because
Yeah,
they
who
blame
cares?
everything on us anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So that's 7. So what's
Even
number
though they
8?
didn't do it. No Jew set Notre Dame on fire, but they'll blame it on us anyway. So it doesn't matter. I'm not even going to say I wish that a Jew did do it. You know why? Because that's not us. That would be un-Jewish.
Yeah.
Right? Jews don't set buildings on fire. That's what I'm talking about is a Jew who lives according to Torah. They don't do that. That's not our way. Okay. I would be more worried about the Jew doing an act like that than the building.
Yeah.
Because an act like that would harm him spiritually. Okay. Sorry, I don't care about your building. I care. And if you're a Catholic and you're listening to this and you're offended by this, I care more about you than about that building. Because at least you're a human being, right? You're more important than that building.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to cry over it, especially when it symbolizes what it symbolizes. Next, the 27th day of Tishrei. He didn't explain here how that's relevant to Chabad. This is the only one that I didn't get. But basically, on that day, which has some relevance to Chabad, it overlapped with the 27th of October in 2019, right? So this is when Trump gave orders to kill Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, who was the leader of ISIS.
Okay. I mean, listen, that helps.
I know it helps, and
what was the day again? Which day?
It was the 27th day of Tishrei, 5780. This is the one thing where he didn't actually explain what the relevance is.
Yeah.
Okay. So far, hold on.
5780?
2019. October 27th,
89.
No, 80. We're in 85.
Oh, I'm sorry, 80, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry, I apologize.
2, 3, 4.
Yeah. The previous year was 5779. I apologize, yeah.
Okay, so aside from, let's say we ignore this one.
27th of Tishrei.
Right. Let's say we ignore this one, where the rabbi, when he said it, he didn't explain to me what the relevance is to Chabad, right? Because it's not a holiday.
Yeah.
Okay. As far as I know. So this is the 8th occurrence. So let's say we can ignore that one for whatever reason, right? I just read to you 7 clear overlaps.
Yeah.
But it continues, folks. Okay. Okay. So now we have the 20th day of Cheshvan.
Yeah.
780, which is the birthday of the 5th Chabad Rebbe, who we call the Rebbe Rashab.
Yeah.
Because it's an acronym for his name, Rabbi Shalom Ber.
Yeah. 20th
so
of Heshvan?
It was the 20th of Heshvan, right? And so the Rebbe Rashab, he was known for many things, but he was unique in the sense that he established the yeshiva in the town of Hebron. Hebron, that's where, in Israel, that's where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and our matriarchs are buried, right? Adam and Eve are buried there too. And it was the seat of King David's, it was his capital before Jerusalem. Okay. Obviously, one of the most Jewish cities that ever existed, right? Obviously, now the most contested.
Yeah.
Okay. So on this day, on the birthday of this Rebbe who fought to establish a yeshiva and to fortify the community, the Jewish community of Hebron. This is in the late 1800s, early 1900s, right? So on that day, Trump instructs Mike Pompeo to announce a historic reversal of U.S. policy that Israeli settlements are not inherently illegal.
Yeah.
So Hebron being the primary settlement, that's considered a quote unquote a settlement, right? Until that announcement, the official US policy was to consider Hebron and other areas in Judea and Samaria to be settlements.
Yeah.
And they're illegal. So he said, so now this is a major step. This is a huge step, a change in US policy in their attitude towards Israel. Right?
Yeah.
So it was, that makes sense. I could see a clear connection that it was on that day, on the birthday of Chabad Rebbe, who really spent a lot of his time making sure that Hebron, which is the flagship settlement,
Yeah.
right, is populated by Jews and has a yeshiva.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a big reversal in U.S. policy. Okay. Next, we have the 13th day of Kislev, the month of Kislev. We call that, and this is the most recent Chabad holiday. They call it Didan Natzach.
Yeah.
Now, this is very important.
13th of Kislev, or I thought it was at Hey Tavis.
No, 13th of Kislev. That's what it says here.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Type in Didan Natzach and see what it says.
No, man. Didan Netzach is what is it called? It's yeah, here. One second. Yeah, it's Hey Tavis, the story of Didan Netzach. Hey Tavis, the 5th of Tavis. Where would you get the? Where would you
Oh,
get
okay. I think I see. Wait a minute.
Yeah, it's in January usually.
Okay, hold on. Didan, that's okay. Let's see. 13th of Kislev.
I think Kislev is nothing. I hate to say it.
Just take a breather. Breathe.
It's the 13th of Kislev is when the Talmud was completed.
Okay, so
that's a cool day.
Okay, so hold on a second. So he says here, hold on. When was, let's use he might have made a mistake with the Hebrew, but let's use the English date to see if that's
What was the English date?
December 11th, 2019. In 5780. Let's see. Didan Natzach 5780.
1 second. The 50 Didan, so Tevet 5th 5780 was January 1st, 2020. I don't know. Unless he meant to say 2021, 5781, which is December 20th, 2020.
Hang on a second, bro.
I don't know. This is all very confusing.
Just take it easy. Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on. Didan Natzach, the day it was decided in 5746 that the Rebbe doesn't need to testify in the Sfarim trial.
Yeah, which is Hey Tavis.
1 second.
So what is he saying? 13th of Kislev, maybe.
Yeah, we're gonna get this right. He must have made a mistake on the date, but he must be showing a synchronicity. So something to do with Didan Natzach. So in Didan Natzach, 1 second, 13th of Kislev, Didan Natzach, the day it was decided that in 5746 the Rebbe doesn't need to testify in this Sfarim trial. Same because halacha of the King Testament 5780. December 11th, 2019, Trump signs executive order. Hold on. I'm Googling Trump signs executive order. Order combating. Second. Combating has 2 M's or 1? 1 M. Damn, combating Anti-Semitism.
Oh yeah.
That defines, anti-Semitism. But there's a specific type of
Yeah.
anti-Semitism
Yeah.
in.
It's December 11th, 2019.
Okay, that's what he writes. Right.
Okay. Hold on. One second. December 11th, 2019 was it
Okay.
was not
So
Dida Netzach, it was the 13th of Kislev, but I don't know what. Okay. Okay.
the day
Sure.
that it was decided in 5746.
Interesting.
Wait, is Dida Natzach celebrated?
Dida Netzach is the Tevet Fit 5.
Okay, just a second. Could have the decision come on the 13th of Kislev? Dida Natzach.
13th of Kislev is not Dida Netzach is what I'm trying to tell you.
I'm not arguing with you.
Okay. So what will be the connection then?
No, so look, Dida Natzach is the day that it was the victory of the Sfarim, right? Of the books.
Yes.
Okay. So that's the day, I think that's the day when, okay, I got it. That's the day when the court ruled that the books that were contested
Okay.
can go back to Chabad, to Chabad as the official organization Chabad, rather than the person who was trying to claim them for themselves.
Correct.
Okay. But the decision, and this is important,
okay,
on whether or not the Lubavitcher Rebbe would have to testify in that trial.
Was 13th of Kislev.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's like a. You
yeah.
understand?
Yeah. Oh, because he had a heart attack. There was a whole thing. And they said, the day court ruled the Rebbe not required to testify in the Sforim case, 13th of Kislev. Oh my goodness.
Okay, folks. So this is a little bit esoteric. So let me unwind it, because Greg decided to challenge the thing. Okay, which is fine.
What did I say?
Nothing. It was a joke. I don't want to get caught up in explaining to you the shtick right now.
Oh,
okay?
I didn't even hear what you said.
There was some shtick that was
sounded
attempted.
muffled.
Okay. There was a court case where the Lubavitcher Rebbe, right, was fighting to have the sacred writings of the previous Rebbes, right? All of the Rebbes have, starting from the first Rebbe, who we call the Alter Rebbe, right? Back in the 1700s, right? And all the successive leaders of Chabad had an entire wealth of writings and teachings, many of which were never published. A lot of it was, but their original writings, and it was just a treasure trove, right? It was very, very revered by the followers of Chabad and many other people, right? Those who respect Torah study and Torah scholarship, and these books and writings, they were considered as if they belonged to the community, right? To the Chabad movement itself. But there was a relative of one of the Rebbes who wanted to claim that these books were they were his inheritance, because he was a relative of the previous Rebbe, right? So that he felt that he should get ownership of it. And this person was not even a religious Jew. He was a secular mathematics professor, and he wanted to take the books for himself. Okay? So this was an important case to this community. Okay? And people were very, very worried about losing all this knowledge of the previous Rebbes, or of the previous sages and leaders of their communities, right? And it was also bewildering as to why someone would want to steal it from them. Right? It was like this kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, but it was just somebody trying to be really mean, right? It was just this contemptuous person who wanted to take this treasured material away, something that's really only valuable to the people who regard it. Okay, it
It's
seemed like
it was a relative of his, no? Like a
that's what I
cousin.
said.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was a relative. So that's why, that's why there was a court case to begin with. You can't just have somebody come and claim, yeah, I want it. No, it was somebody who might have had some legal standing. Okay. And it was a scary time for this community, right? And so on Hay Tavis, right, on this, right, that's when the court case was decided that this person would not be able to steal these writings from the community. But during this case, which extended for weeks and months, okay, I don't know how long it actually went on for, right? There was a decision by the court where there was a question during these proceedings whether or not the Rebbe himself, the leader of the community, was gonna be forced to testify in that case. Now, a lot of you might be scratching your head and saying, well, what's the big deal? So testify. But there's a problem. Because in Torah law, a king is not forced to testify.
Yeah.
Cannot force a king to testify.
Yeah. That's how, by the way, how we know Bibi's not a king, because they forced him to, he was both.
Yeah. There's a lot of other reasons too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the Rebbe, his followers felt that he was a potential Messiah for a lot of reasons. Okay. Now, if he would be forced to testify, they would take that as a sign from heaven that he's not the king. He's not the king Messiah, or that he's not meant to become the king Messiah. So the day that it was decided, so this is like a holiday within a holiday, right? The day that it was decided, on the anniversary of this decision that the Rebbe didn't have to testify, what did Trump do on that day? Now, this is like the most esoteric of all esoteric Chabad holidays. Like probably not every Chabadnik is even aware of this particular holiday, right?
Yeah.
So on this day, on the anniversary of the day that the Rebbe, and this happened in the 80s. This is a case that went on in the 1980s.
Correct.
On the anniversary of the day of that decision that the Rebbe would not have to testify in this court case.
Yeah.
Okay. What did Trump do on that day, which was December 11th, 2019? Trump signs an executive order to combat anti-Semitism that defines the Jewish people as a nationality.
Yeah.
So let me explain what that means. The universities were teaching people that the Jews are not a nationality.
Yeah, that it's just a religion.
And we're just a religion. That the Jews are not an ethnicity, even though we were considered an ethnicity throughout all of history, right? And we're always segregated as an ethnicity. And if you were in Russia, folks, you had Jew listed on your passport as your nationality. Okay? And same was the case everywhere else in Europe and in the Arab world, right? If you were a Jew. But the modern convention, or the modern Marxist institutions, right? All the universities, were now pushing this new idea that the Jews are not a nationality, but they're just a religion. Why? Well, that would justify them destroying Israel and saying that Israel can't exist because the Jews are not a nationality, we're not indigenous. That's their claim, right? Okay. So why was that important to combat that idea? So Trump said, no, I'm passing a law that says that any institution that teaches that Jews are just a religion and not a nationality is going to probably their funding will be cut off or something like that, right?
Yep.
Okay. So why was it important for that to happen, for that action by Trump to happen on the day when the Rebbe on the anniversary of the day that the Rebbe didn't have to testify in court. Well, if he doesn't have to testify, then he could be the king, right? It could be a sign from heaven that he's the king. And what does a king need, folks? Greg, what does a king need to be a king?
What does the king need to be a king? He needs people.
Exactly. He needs a kingdom, right?
Yeah.
He has a people. A king is not a king by himself. I can't just buy an island off there and say I'm the king of the island. You could say that, but you're not a real king because you don't have a kingdom. You don't have subjects.
Yeah.
Okay. So on that day, when Trump wrote into law confirming that the Jews indeed are a people, right? That was the day when it was confirmed that the Rebbe was the king. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, these folks, just to remind you, these are holidays that are important to only one Orthodox Jewish community. Now, it is, you'll find this community, members of this community worldwide, but this is specifically Jewish holidays pertaining to Chabad, to the Lubavitcher Rebbe.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So next. So that's the 9th overlap of a Chabad holiday, very important, with something important that Trump does either for the world or for Israel.
Yeah.
Anything he does for Israel is important for the world.
Yeah.
Okay. So
what's next?
Next, the 14th day of Kislev in 5780. This is the anniversary of the Rebbe's wedding. He married the daughter of the previous Rebbe. So the previous Rebbe was the king. His daughter is the princess. So the Rebbe married the princess of the kingdom, right? Okay. So this is also a big celebration in the Chabad community. Chabad and Lubavitch are one thing, folks. That's Chabad, Lubavitch, okay?
Yeah.
So the 14th day of Kislev, 5780. This is the anniversary of the Rebbe's wedding. So what happened? This is the day that Boris Johnson leads the Conservative Party to a stunning. This is apparently a surprise, like mini miracle in Britain.
Yeah.
Because his opponent was the head of the Labour Party.
Oh, this
James
clown.
Corbyn.
Yeah.
Now Corbyn is worse than the guy who's there now, Keir Starmer. If you can imagine anybody worse than Keir Starmer. Corbyn literally walks around with a keffiyeh.
Correct.
He's definitely a Muslim. Just he can't fully come out and admit it yet.
Yeah.
He's buddy. He literally hangs out, hugs and kisses with passion Hamas terrorists.
No, he's straight up. He's straight up.
He is one of the worst people who ever lived.
Yeah.
And he was just barely not the prime minister. It was a miracle that he was not. So forget about Boris Johnson. Okay, fine, he's not so great. But the fact it wasn't even about Boris Johnson winning. It was about this Corbyn dipshit.
Jeremy Corbyn. Yeah.
That would have been catastrophic for the world.
Yeah.
It would have been worse than what's going on right now with Keir Starmer, who's the worst. Keir Starmer is the worst, and James Corbyn is worse than the worst.
Jeremy Corbyn. Yeah.
Jeremy Corbyn. What is
James?
Oh yeah, he wrote James Corbyn, but he meant Jeremy Corbyn. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's like huge.
Yeah.
All right. Again, very important Chabad holiday and something.
Yeah.
And that one wasn't even with Trump. That was just like
it was just in general.
Just a huge day for the world.
Yeah.
A version of a disaster. Okay. Now the 5th of Teves, Didan Natzach.
Okay.
This is Didan Natzach. This is when they won the court case.
Yeah.
And the books came back to the community.
Yeah.
So this is January 2nd, 2020. Okay. And it was Didan Natzach that day, right?
Yeah.
In a surprise, stunning airstrike, the U.S. killed the top Iranian military commander of the Revolutionary Guards Force, Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis.
Oh, it wasn't Soleimani?
No.
Oh. Interesting.
Okay, there was somebody before Soleimani. All right, this is okay. So, again, another important Chabad holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Next,
What day was it? January
That's-
2nd, 2020.
yeah, that's 10, folks. That's 10
no,
overlapping.
that was Soleimani. January 2nd, 2020 was Soleimani.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I mistake. He also killed this guy after. Let me read it again. In
Yeah.
a surprise airstrike, the U.S.
Yeah.
killed the top Iranian military commander of the Revolutionary Guards, Soleimani of the Quds Force,
Yeah.
together with his
Ah.
buddy Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis, who's probably going to be
Okay.
the guy who replaces him.
Ah.
So they killed them both.
Yes.
Again, this is on this important Chabad holiday.
Yes. Yeah.
Why?
Crazy.
Okay.
How many are in total, by the way?
I think
17?
there's another 5 to go.
Oh, okay. Oh,
I
wow.
think I have 14 listed here.
Oh, wait. Oh,
I already
14
read
listed.
10.
14 listed?
Yeah,
No,
there's
you
14.
read 11. There's 11.
Right. But I don't count that one that he didn't explain.
Yeah. No, so you read 12 basically, but really there's 11.
So far, there's a few more to go.
Crazy.
So here we go. On the 24th of Tavis,
Mhm.
5780. This is the yard site of the first Lubavitcher Rebbe,
Mhm.
the Alter Rebbe, right? We call the Alter Rebbe. This is overlapping with the 21st day of January in the year 2020. This is the first day of hearings in the trial of President Trump in the U.S. Senate. This is all Russia. Remember when he was brought? He was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So and then we have the 10th of Shvat, the year 5780.
Mhm.
This is the Yortzeit of the sixth Chabad Rebbe.
Yeah.
The anniversary of, and this is also the day when the Rebbe, the last Rebbe, became the leader.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
so the sixth Rebbe passed away exactly a year later, exactly on the anniversary.
Yeah.
1 year after the passing of the sixth Rebbe, the seventh Rebbe assumes the mantle of leadership.
You're shocked.
Okay. Yeah. And and this overlapped in 2020 with February 5th. This is the day that Trump is acquitted of all charges.
Mhm.
So you can't even say that Trump could be conscious of that because he didn't control the day he was going to be.
Yeah, of course not. Of course
he didn't
not.
control the day that he was going to be brought in front of Senate.
Yeah.
During his trial, Boris Johnson had nothing to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. For sure.
Okay, so some of this stuff you could say, oh yeah, some reason he synchronized it as if Trump has that much consciousness of the Lubavitcher Rebbe or even Chabad holidays.
No.
Right? He doesn't, folks. Okay.
No.
But all of these major world events and major decisions made by these major world leaders, right, they seem to have happened. And this is, by the way, an incomplete list. He told me there's a much longer list.
Yeah.
He wrote this list for me kind of like with a thumb, like typing on his phone.
Yeah.
So this is just a partial list. And we've read this list many times.
Oh, that's all you have for now?
Yeah. But that's about, folks, that's 14 events.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you want to say 1 or 2 is a coincidence, but 14?
Yeah.
You can't say it's a coincidence.
When was Trump?
What does it mean? What does it mean? Wait, we can't leave it at that. What does it mean? What could this mean?
It means that the Rebbe is working. Wait, when was Trump? Trump was acquitted of inciting. He was acquitted of inciting. 1 second. 1 second.
This is the Russia thing.
No, Russia, but also he was acquitted of inciting, whatever. They're accusing him of inciting January 6th. He was acquitted. I'll tell you the date. February. I'm curious now.
February 5th, 2020.
February 13th. 1 second. February 13th, 2021 was the Rosh Hashanah. That's just
we're
Rosh
not talking
Hashanah.
about that's far away from what we're talking about.
Yeah.
February 5th. This is 8 days before what you just said.
Yeah.
February 5th.
No, 13th. Whatever.
No, February 5th. 1 second.
Adar is when the month when it's good to have
Trump
court cases.
acquitted. On February 5th, Trump was acquitted on both counts by the Senate, as neither court received 67 votes to convict.
Yeah.
Trump remained in office for the remainder of his term.
Oh, that's
That was his impeachment hearing.
no, yeah, but I'm talking about the impeachment. I'm talking about the insurrection hearing
That's
after January 6th.
I don't know,
2021.
but what he I'm focusing on the list that the rabbi
Oh.
gave me.
Oh, okay.
I don't want
No,
to.
I'm just saying. I'm saying if there's other things, I'm looking for other things.
Oh yeah, you could probably find a ton of other things, but
Yeah.
but you could look for sure. There's other things, but folks, this is more than a coincidence.
Yeah, for sure.
This short list of 14 synchronicities is but anyway, do you want to it shows that the Lubavitcher Rebbe, even when he's not in his body, is present and affecting the world. I believe that he's the likely Mashiach, or the what's the word? There's that official term that we're using. There's two stages in the Mashiach. There's the presumed Mashiach, and then there's the definite Mashiach. So the definite Mashiach has to build a temple, gather the Jews in Israel, and a few other things. Okay, so the Rebbe has not done that yet.
Yeah.
Okay, but in our Jewish tradition, a person who's not alive in a physical body, it does not preclude them from being the Mashiach.
Yeah.
Okay. But for the Mashiach to be considered a Mashiach, even once, he has to complete the Mashiach list.
Yeah.
We've had many presumed Mashiachs in the past, folks, and they didn't pan out.
Yep.
Like Bar Kokhba during Roman times, he was a presumed Mashiach.
Yep.
So for the time being, the Rebbe is a presumed Mashiach, but boy, is he presumed.
Oh, yeah.
He's really presumed. He's presuming like crazy right now. Okay.
Yeah.
And he seems to be, and Trump seems to be one of his tools. Whether Trump is conscious of it or not, Trump serves the Messiah. And the Messiah is doing God's will.
Yep.
Okay. I think the two greatest leaders in the world today, the two best, in my opinion, is Donald Trump and Javier Milei. We've established that Trump is a, whether conscious or not, serving the Lubavitcher Rebbe, right? Or the Lubavitcher Rebbe is using Trump as a messenger.
For sure.
Okay. But Javier Milei, he's conscious of it. He's literally talks about him all the time.
Yeah.
Javier Milei came to Netanyahu a couple of days ago with a picture of the Rebbe and of a picture of him, of the Rebbe speaking to Netanyahu.
This happened 2 days before the attack, before Israel bombed.
So Javier Milei, this Argentinian economist, right? This like awesome capitalist, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who is Trump is like an unconscious, messenger of the Rebbe, and Milei is a conscious and Trump and Milei are the two greatest leaders on earth, the two best countries, the two best economies on earth.
Yeah.
Both of them clearly connected to the Rebbe. There's never been a more relevant rabbi in history.
It's absolutely astounding. It's absolutely astounding. Absolutely.
And nobody, and by the way, he's like the most, Milei is not Jewish, but he's Chabad. Okay.
Yeah.
We say that with a little bit.
Milei Chabad.
We
Listen,
say that we don't.
Who of the leaders goes to celebrate? Can I show the folks at home here?
Yeah, but I'm just saying that he is like really loud about it.
Yeah,
and his country loves him.
He's very overt about it here,
and the world loves him. The world loves him. Okay, and they don't mind that he's a follower of the Rebbe, that he values the teachings of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he talks about how much they impact him.
Yeah,
so that's why, when you look at the world from that, and this information I'm telling you, you got to know there's a lot of There's a lot of true spiritual things that are cooking.
Yeah, of course.
There's a clear link between current events and the spiritual dimensions of reality, because that's where the Rebbe is now. He's he's he traverses the spiritual and the physical dimensions simultaneously.
Yeah.
He couldn't do that in a body.
I'm trying to find, there's a photo of Milei at the 19th of Kislev. Somebody showed it to me, or I saw it somewhere. I think this Beryl Solomon guy posted it. It's insane. Here. Oh my God. Dear Lord. All these people are like, oh, Milei is a plant. He's a World Economic Forum. Yeah, 1 second. Chabad. Here he is. I don't know. I can't. Somebody posted a picture of him like standing in the back of like an auditorium, and Yutet Kislev, like, you know, just, and it was like him in a one of the security guards, you know, his personal. But yeah, I mean, he came to Israel 2 days before, or 3 days before this whole thing, and he presented Bibi with a photo of Bibi and the Rebbe. And then he went to cry at the Kotel, and then he met with, this is 2 years before he had the show Havdalah with Rabbi Pinto, David Pinto, big Kabbalist. Like he's like a,
I don't know anything about that rabbi, but I don't
I'm
want to.
saying, like, I'm just saying, like, this is something that, like, dude, this is something that, like, people like us do. Like, we visit, you know, like, I don't know, very specific Kabbalists, and like celebrate specific holidays, and like go to like the Ohel. Milei goes to the Ohel.
Yeah.
He has a rabbi. His rabbi is Rabbi Jacobson,
Yeah.
Simon Jacobson.
Yeah.
That's his rabbi. Like that's he has a rabbi.
By the way, Norm Macdonald's rabbi, he liked my post on
Who was Norm
Twitter.
Macdonald's rabbi? That's funny.
Rabbi Shais Taub.
Ah, Shai Taub was Norm Macdonald's rabbi?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
You do know that. We even talked about it on the show. We played a clip.
Oh, I know he was learning Hasidut. I didn't know that Shai Taub was specifically.
I think
Wow.
I'm pretty sure it was he learned it with Norm Macdonald. Like he was.
Wow.
He was the rabbi who learned with Norm.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So we have that. So can we? Do you think it might be appropriate now to play Rabbi Weisberg's? It is like.
Yes.
It's like more than half an hour.
It's okay. It's okay. We have time. We started.
I think it's worth it because it's about biblical prophecy literally unfolding in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
Now
it's called
I
the
really
Fall of
recommend
Persia.
I recommend listening very carefully to what he says.
Yeah. It's called the Fall of Persia. It's 33 minutes. There you go.
Wow.
And 21 seconds. Fall of Persia, the last prophecy before Mashiach. That's what it's called. Okay.
I'm super excited.
It's very quiet, this video. I can't make it louder. It's a very quiet recording.
The Israeli army is perpetrating against Iran, and the incredible success that they're having. It's all God's miracles, but I'm so excited because this is the last box that had to be checked. The last thing that had to happen before Mashiach comes was this attack with Iran, and there are so many prophecies that are all coming together. I wasn't exactly sure how everything's going to fit in, but God incredibly, elegantly put everything together, and all the pieces of the puzzle are here, and we're really, really ready for Mashiach because nothing else has to happen. The only thing that has to happen, nothing has to happen, but if you want to prepare yourself, now is the time. Don't waste time. Learn Torah, do mitzvahs, give charity, be good to people, do as many good deeds as you can, so when Mashiach comes, you are prepared to receive the incredible light of a Mashiach. In this video, I'm going to explain to you exactly where this strike was prophesied. I want to explain to you exactly what the role of Bibi Netanyahu is, the role of Trump, and incredibly where the Lubavitcher Rebbe comes into this whole picture. It's going to be amazing. Just be patient. I'm going to get to that towards the end. We're going to go through 6 or 7 prophecies, and I'm going to explain to you how everything is coming together with such exactitude, to the T. Exactly, God let us know exactly what's happened. We couldn't have figured out before it happened, but now after it happened, like the Rambam says in the very end of his book, and the laws of Mashiach, that you can't figure out messianic prophecies until they actually occur. Now that they occurred, everything fits into place. So let's start. First of all, I was always puzzled by this because in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38 and 39, it talks at length about the wars of Gog and Magog. And it says there clearly, we spoke about this in previous videos, I'm not going to repeat this over here, but it's clear that Gog from the land of Magog is the President of the United States, the leader of the Western world, the final manifestation of the Roman Empire. And it says he's going to form an alliance with countries, the only one that could be identified as Persia. And the alliance is going to be against the Jewish state, which was recently established. It says clearly all that stuff over there. And according to that prophecy, America is going to join Persia in attacking Israel. So that's one prophecy. But then we have another prophecy in the Talmud, in Tractate Yuma. This is the tractate that deals with the Yom Kippur, the service of the Kohen Gadol on the Holy of Holies, on the holiest day of the year. And here we have clear in the Talmud, it says that we learned in the name of Rav, and then we learned this from Brisa, from Tanoim, Asida Paras Shetipa B'Yad Remi, that Persia will fall by the Romans. So that means the Roman Empire, the last manifestation of the Roman Empire, which is Western society led by the United States of America, Persia is going to fall. So how does that fit with the prophecy that we just quoted from Ezekiel chapter 38, that America and Persia are going to join forces and form an alliance against Israel? And here it says that Rome and America is going to put down Persia. Persia is going to be destroyed, weakened, ashamed, embarrassed, basically knocked off the scene by the Romans. Then we have another prophecy, a very interesting prophecy. I don't want to go into this at length. It's many times in the Zohar. I'll quote you here from the Zohar in the book of Bereshis, page 25. It says here clearly that the Erev Rav, these are the people, these are the Egyptians that Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, accepted as part of the Jewish people when the Jews left Egypt. So enormous amount of Egyptians and non-Jews wanted to join the Jewish people. They weren't fully ready for it. They didn't do it out of love for God. They did it because they realized that the Jews are much stronger than the Egyptians, and they wanted to be with the winners and not the losers, so they never really performed a conversion all the way. So therefore their souls were not completely whole. And it says there that before Mashiach comes, they will be the ones that are in control of the land in Israel. The Talmud says this also in Sanhedrin in page 98. It says that the government of the state of Israel will be a Malchus Azala, which basically means a lowly government, which is referring to what the Zohar says, they'll be the Erev Rav. Now, what exactly does that mean? I don't want to go into, this is not the purpose of this video, but I want to explain you something. From the beginning of the establishment of the state of Israel, one thing is very clear, and that is that from Theodor Herzl through Ben Gurion and all the leaders of the state of Israel, they basically were proxies of Edom, of the Western world. And even though they claim that they have independence, they celebrate it, but they don't have independence. They were always very fearful and always collaborated with the Western world, and particularly America. And therefore, they lacked the complete inner strength of complete Jews, even though they were 100% halakhically Jewish. But in their minds and in their souls, there was something lacking over there. They could never come out to say that God gave us the land, the entire land. The biblical borders include the Yehuda and Shomron, what they call the West Bank and Gaza. It's all Jewish land, and we have absolutely no reason in the world. In fact, it's against God's will that we share it with anybody else. The Muslims have over 50 countries. Everyone has a place. We have one tiny place. God gave it to us, and He wants us to have it and nobody else. No one was able to say that. Everyone said, nah, it's for everybody, it's a democracy, everybody could come, and even non-Jews, and we'll treat them the same, and stuff like that. So this has been very, very confusing, and it's been a cause of unbelievable amount of suffering for the Jewish people, these compromises and trying to always, bring in and let the Arabs have their own place and their own autonomy. I don't want to go into it, but because of this lack of Jewish pride and belief in Hashem and Amunah in Hashem, they have always been very compromised, and they never really were able to win a war. There was always ceasefires, but never really win, never destroy their enemies. They're always coming back to fight again. Basically, this war is going on for 100 years, and it's really going nowhere. It's going nowhere because after 615 days in Gaza, Hamas is fully in support. The IDF only controls. I mean, if you think of it, it's absolutely insane. You're talking about Iran is 1,000 miles away. It's a mighty country. They have a mighty army, and they have missiles, and they have everything. And you talk about 80 million people. Are very. I mean, it's not. I mean, you can't compare them to Hamas. And here, Israel is tearing them apart, shaming them, going into Tehran, killing their leaders, destroying their infrastructures, destroying their missile defenses. In a matter of hours, in the next couple of days, there's nothing going to be left. And here you have the weakest army in the world, Hamas, and it's a tiny little area. It's in Israel's backyard. It's not 1,000 miles away. And how October 7th happened and the response to October 7th, and 650 days later, there's still 50 hostages there. And soldiers are being killed, and over 500 soldiers were killed in this, and they're still maybe control 30% of Gaza. They have no plan after. So you see, there's incredible weakness over here. But on the other hand, what they're doing today is amazing. Like, how do you fit this? So the answer is that obviously everybody does what God wants them to do. As far as is God's plan, it doesn't make a difference what people think. Netanyahu, Trump, everybody's doing God's plan. So I'm explaining to you what the plan over here is. There is no question that America and the West, they are in full alliance with Iran. They built Iran. The Carter administration, you can look all this up, ask ChatGPT or one of the other AI programs that you use. This is all well known. The Carter administration was the one that really built up the Ayatollahs, and then Reagan came and he armed them to the teeth. The famous Iran-Contra deal, he armed them to the teeth, and then successive American administrations helped Iran build up this infrastructure that they did, that they could terrorize the state of Israel and the Jews of Israel. What Obama did and what Biden did, and he allowed them hundreds of billions of dollars to make money, so they could fund Hamas, and they could fund Hezbollah, and they could fund the Houthis. Everything the Americans were in complete alliance with. Now, what's shocking is Trump is also in the same boat. I mean, Trump is what is Trump thinking? I mean, he's negotiating with them another week and another week and another week. Like, what in the world? You negotiate with Nazis? What, are you out of your mind? What, are you crazy? These people are freaking liars. These people are monsters. These people are Nazis. These people are crazy, fanatic, subhuman. What are you negotiating with them? And then Trump says over and over again, I want Iran to be successful. It's a great country. You want this government to be successful? This government has to be destroyed. They're Nazis. What are you doing? What, are you crazy? You're nuts. Why are you wasting your time? You can't believe a word they say. Every day that you drag it, they're going further in the nuclear program. They're building more missiles. They're fortifying their defenses in their nuclear facilities. And you're going and you say, I want a deal, I want a deal. What, are you afraid to fight them? You're the mightiest army in the world. You could destroy Iran in 5 minutes. What, are you crazy? What are you chasing after them? Now, obviously, Trump doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's doing. That makes no sense what he's doing. I mean, his buddies in the Gulf states, of course, they're terrified of Iran, because Iran basically, Israel is very hard to fight. Israel has very good air defenses. I mean, Iran tried, and they're trying today. They send drones, they send missiles. They did it twice last year, and they sent hundreds of missiles and drones and ballistic missiles, and nothing went through. But the Gulf states have very poor missile defenses, and Iran could set them back, decades. They could destroy their whole infrastructure. They could cause billions and billions of dollars of damage. They could close the Strait of Hormuz, and they could close the Houthis could close the other strait over there, the Gulf over there, and no oil could be shipped. I mean, they could cause enormous damage. So the Gulf states are obviously pressuring Trump,
So if I turned off Ada tomorrow,
don't fight Iran, they're going to take revenge on us. But Trump talks big, I'm not going to let them have, but meanwhile he's negotiating with them. But even now, during this war, Trump, like a moron, he's saying, I still want to negotiate with you. What, are you crazy? So the answer is, of course, Trump is a nobody. Trump is just an avatar. He does exactly what is predicted to do. So, if you look in Ezekiel chapter 38, God says, "I will force you. I'm going to put hooks in your mouth, and I'm going to bring you to the land of Israel, that you in Iran should be against Israel, and you have no choice in the matter." So, what Trump is doing is exactly what he has to do. But on the other hand, so he's building up Iran, and he's dragging it out, and he's giving them the time, and he's saying all these praises, great things. And that idiot, he said, he went to the Middle East, and he went to Qatar. The Qatars are monsters. The Qatars are Nazis. They fund Hamas. They love Hamas. They support Hamas. They host Hamas, and he tells them, he loves them, and they're great people, and this, and they're handsome. What are you glorifying Nazis? You out of your mind? You out of your mind? But listen, that's his role. I mean, Trump has to be against Israel. But on the other hand, he likes Jews. He's not an anti-Semite. You got to be crazy to think he's an anti-Semite. He's doing more to protect Jews than any president in the history of America. He's going after the anti-Semites. He's closing the universities. He's chucking them out of the country. Pro-Hamas people from other countries, he's throwing them out. He's doing an enormous amount of stuff for the Jewish people in America. So the person it doesn't have an ounce of anti-Semitism in him. He's a good person. He's a bully. He's not refined and stuff like that. But his heart is in the right place, and he definitely has nothing against the Jewish people. To the contrary, doing everything he can for the Jews in America that they should be protected. But on the other hand, he does have a role. And
hey, Greg, can you stop it for a moment?
Align with Iran against the state.
No.
If I could just dare to perhaps disagree with the rabbi in this one point. So far, everything he said I agree with, except for this. And then everything he says after this, I also agree with. But what he's saying right now about Trump, I don't think he's interpreting Trump correctly in the prophecy. I think that within the prophecy, it says Gog has to go against Israel, right?
Yeah.
I think that aspect of the prophecy manifested with Obama. Obama was the manifestation in human form of that part of the prophecy of Gog going against Israel with Iran. Literally, he at that time was the president of the United States, and also just recently, in between Trump's two terms, was the president of the United States. He was running the country. He was sending stuff to Iran.
Yep.
He was propping up Iran. He was the one developing Iran's nuclear capabilities and their ballistic missiles and all that other stuff. So the manifestation of Gog going against Israel, right, together with Iran, that's, from the prophecy, that's Obama. Trump's kind of like seemingly semi-schizophrenic, deal-making thing, I don't think that qualifies. I don't think he's interpreting that part of it correctly. I don't think that Trump is going against Israel.
No, it's not.
At all. I think Trump is that aspect of Edom that he mentioned that will destroy Persia.
Yeah.
And he said already that the Erev Rav subgroup of the Jewish people that we talk about incessantly on the show is a proxy of Edom.
Correct.
So the people who run Israel are just an extension, servants of Edom.
Of course.
Okay. So yes, they are Jews, but they're the subgroup that we are not very fond of, which is called the Erev Rav.
Correct.
And it makes sense that they ask Trump for permission to do anything because because Trump is the current leader of Edom, but Trump is the manifestation of the part of Edom that takes Persia down. Obama was the manifestation of the part of Edom, Gog, that sides together with Persia to go against Israel.
Yeah.
I don't see anything that Trump is doing that's against Israel. So I don't agree with
everybody's just upset that he's taking his time and he wants
he's driving us nuts.
This and that.
But he's not going against Israel.
Yeah, he's not going against us. He's just like dude, it's stupid. Like they accused him of throwing Israel under the bus about a month ago, and now we see that wasn't even, that's not at all what this was. Every time I tell people, I'm like, your premise is that you want so badly for him to hate Jews, or for him to be, I don't know, like fly by the seat of his pants, or shoot from the hip, or you want so badly for him to be at best like a total screw up, and at worst an anti-Semite. He's neither.
Yeah, he's great to Israel.
They want it
Uh,
so badly to be true.
yeah,
It's killing them that it's not true.
right.
Even Jews, it's killing Jews that it's not true.
He's
It's
the
killing.
best. Yeah,
Hmm.
he's the best possible Edomite
Yeah.
that could possibly be for Israel.
Again, it's Tov Shabesov. That's what Rabbi
Right.
Kessin calls
Right.
him. So the good part of Esav, like
Okay.
he's still gonna be Esav. You have to remember that he's still gonna be
Right.
Esav. Like
Right. That's why Trump said, as we started before, even before we started watching the video, I read you Trump's statement from social media. We did this. I was
yeah,
stunned with that. We,
okay, let him. Yeah, yeah,
right? How is it we? What does he mean we when Israel is doing all the
yeah,
bombing, when Israel is
yeah.
sending all their personnel? There's no Americans flying airplanes bombing
Listen,
Iran. There's
even
no
if it's not what you say, the whole thing. Let's say it's not right. The whole
what he's no, what he's saying is we, meaning I am Edom, the
yeah,
Israeli government
yeah,
who's carrying out these operations.
yeah,
Those are my proxies. They're the Erev. He's
yeah.
confirming the prophecy.
Correct.
That's what that's why I thought this is important
Yeah.
to play this. We've been going for how long have we been going for? Almost
Yeah,
what,
we started like at 4, so we go like a little over 3 hours, like as
over
usual.
3 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
All
Let's just
right, you
finish
know
this
what?
up.
So let's finish this and then we'll end off on that
Yeah.
because I have to go.
Yeah. No, I have to go.
My conversation time where I can think straight without distraction is coming has ended technically.
This podcast has become tiresome, and now the time for Sprockets for me dance.
It's not become tiresome to
I know,
me.
I know, I know.
Yeah.
So that's why he's
It's
trying to negotiate with them, and
What are you saying?
no, your discussion has grown tedious.
Yes.
he's praising
Exactly.
I mean, Iran, Qatar, it's all the same thing. So he's praising them and saying they're great, and even Erdogan, who's also a Nazi, who's always saying he wants to destroy the day of Israel. Trump says, "Oh, he's a great guy. He's a tough guy. I like him. I could deal with him." What are you, crazy? The guy's a Nazi. Why are you saying these stupid things? The answer is because you're not in control of your mind. God is in control of your mind. And he wants you, on the one hand, he wants you to be against Israel. But on the other hand, you like the Jews. How does this work? So the answer is, on one hand, you're fighting Israel, but on the other hand, Edom, Esav, right? We quoted the Gemara in Yuma that Esav.
We're Phoenix Energy, a family.
Government of Israel is basically the Erev. I mean, Netanyahu does not do anything without coordinating with America. That's it. When Biden told him to send all the aid to the Gazans, he said all the aid to the Gazans. The aid went straight to Hamas. So basically, Israel is fighting a war for over 600 days, and they are supporting their enemy. They gave all the aid. Hamas took the aid, and they sold it, and they fed themselves, and they gorged themselves, and then with the money, they had more money to bring in more. After every time the Israeli army killed Hamas, they brought in new people. They paid them. They had money to pay them. So Israel was forced to actually support Hamas. First of all, they built Hamas up. Netanyahu, in the last 15 years, he made sure that Hamas has a lot of money, whatever was going through his mind, what the purpose was. But he built up Hamas. They knew what they were going. They knew what they were doing in Gaza, the tunnels and all the weapons and the missiles. They knew all that. They just turned a blind eye, and they actually facilitated by allowing all the money to go in there from the West, from Qatar, from Iran, from Turkey, everything like that. So basically, what Israel did, they were in complete alliance with Edom, with the last manifestation of Rome, and fully in alliance against the Jewish state. The Israeli government was fully in alliance with them and helping them. But here, now Edom has to destroy Iran, like the Gemara says in Yuba. So therefore, Esav is doing it through its proxy. Its proxy, of course, is Israel, because Netanyahu is not going to do anything unless America agrees to do it. So therefore, and he coordinated with Trump, and Trump said, "I knew about it." But Trump on the one hand, he acts like he's a tough guy, but now he's acting like a big chicken. He's afraid that Iran is gonna retaliate against America and attack American bases. America has tons of bases all over the Middle East, not in Israel, but in all the other Arab countries. Their biggest base, everybody knows, is in Qatar, and he's afraid of them. And the Gulf, and his buddies in the Gulf, in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the Emirates, they're all telling him, please don't incite Iran. They're going to take it out on us. So Trump is saying, nothing to do with America. We're not part of this. We're not part of this. It's all Israel. It's all alone. You're acting like a little chicken, like you're afraid of Iran. America can knock off Iran. If Israel is doing it, America's 10 times stronger. America could do it if Israel takes a couple of days, America could do it in hours. So what are you afraid of? The answer is, the prophet says that America is aligned with Iran. So he can't fight Iran, but he has to fight Iran. So he fights Iran. On the one hand, he's aligned with Iran, and on the other hand, he's fighting Iran. How does he fight Iran? With his proxy. Netanyahu is his proxy. Netanyahu doesn't do anything without America. All the arms, the F-35s, the F-15s, the F-16s, they're all American planes. It's American weapons. It's with Americans' permission. It's coordinated with the Americans. So at the same time, this is a crazy thing. You can never figure this out, but this is a crazy thing. So what happened is that at the same time that Trump is fighting Israel, he's also fighting Iran through his proxy, Israel. So there's an incredible prophecy. The last prophecy before, we know Bilam had amazing prophecies, and the last prophecy that he said, what's going to happen right before Mashiach comes? What does he say? He says, "Vitzim biyad kitim, v'inu Ashur, v'inu Aver." This is a prophecy in Bamidbar, and chapter 24, verse 24. It's in Numbers 24:24. It says, "V'tzim biyad kitim, v'inu Asher, v'inu Aver." So how does Rashi, the most important commentator on the Chumash, on the Bible, what does he say? He says, Tzim is massive ships, and they are going to be controlled by the Kitim, which he says is the Roman Empire, the last manifestation of the Roman Empire, and that's America. What's a massive ship? What's a massive ship? A massive ship is obviously what's the biggest vessel in the world? That's an aircraft carrier. So an aircraft carrier, America has 11 aircraft carriers, and they're working now on another 2. Each one costs $13 to $15 billion. Nobody comes close to them when it talks about big ships. Nobody comes even close to them. China has 2, I think, and Russia has 1, and they're not nearly as good as America was. So America is the ones with its sim. They're the big ships. And what are they going to do? America sends its ships, the aircraft carriers to the mills. They send to Carl Vinson and the Harry Truman, and it says, what are they going to do? V'inu Ashur, v'inu Aver, and they're going to press Ashur. Ashur is the Syrian Empire, but the Syrian Empire doesn't exist anymore. So it's a metaphor for the enemies of the Jews in the Middle East. One time it was Ashur, and now it's Persia, and now it's Iran. So v'inu Ashur, he's going to press the enemies of the Jews. V'inu Aver, Aver is the Ivrim, the Jews. So he's oppressing their enemies and the Jews. Didn't make any sense. I didn't understand this, but it's happening right now, because on one hand, Trump, through his proxy Israel, is attacking Iran, and on the other hand, he puts pressure on Israel and he ignores Israel. He makes deals with the Houthis that ignores Israel. He makes deals with Syria, he ignores Israel. He goes to the Middle East to visit his buddies, and he ignores Israel. He puts tariffs on Israel. He's doing things, he's oppressing Israel. He has to oppress Israel because the prophecy in Ezekiel is Gog together with Iran are oppressing Israel. On the other hand, like we said, he's also destroying Iran.
Cranks a ball, deep left field.
What's very, very interesting here is that where Netanyahu comes in over here, because right before, a day before the attack, this is what I believe happened. The Rebbe sent one of his messengers. The Rebbe has people that he uses that are very close to him, and they're not always his Hasidim, Chabad Hasidim, they're not even always Jewish. Sometimes they're non-Jews, righteous non-Jews. One of the holiest non-Jews today, we know, is the president of Argentina, Javier Milei. I hope I pronounced it right. And this guy is such a righteous Gentile. He has such a powerful, righteous soul, shining with light. He says over words of Torah. He says over words. He was by the Rebbe at least 4 times. When he comes to New York, he goes to the Rebbe. He prays like he's a chassid of the Rebbe. And he was said, I believe, by the Rebbe because Netanyahu had an interesting relationship with the Rebbe. First time he met the Rebbe was when he came as an assignment to be the Israeli ambassador to the UN in 1984. But then, 5 years later, he left the UN and he joined the Israeli government. He became a member of the Likud. He became the deputy foreign minister under Shamir. And in 1988, he came to the Rebbe for a blessing. He passed by the Rebbe. The Rebbe used to give out blessings, and he passed by the Rebbe. And he told the Rebbe that now he's in the Israeli government. So then he had a minor position. He wasn't a leader in the government, just a deputy foreign minister. But the Rebbe told him one day, you're going to lead the Rebbe told him a prophecy, going back to 1988. The Rebbe told him that one day you're going to be the leader of the land of the Israeli government, and you need to be strong for the security of Israel. You might have to fight against, there's 120 people in the Knesset, you might have to fight against 119 of them, but you have to stand up for the security of Israel. And the Rebbe wanted to remind him about that bracha that the Rebbe gave him back in 1988. So the Rebbe sent his shliach. This time his shliach was a non-Jew, the president of Argentina. And he gave him a gift. An artist made a picture. It was taken from a photograph, but he made a beautiful picture. I'll put some links in the description. You'll see exactly. He gave him a picture of that time when he went to the Rebbe in 1988, and the Rebbe gave him this blessing. And with that, the Rebbe encouraged Netanyahu, remember that blessing I gave you? Now you need to use it. Don't be afraid. Go ahead and destroy Iran. You must do it. And Netanyahu remembered it, and he told him he remembers how he saw the Rebbe had such prophetic powers, and he mentioned clearly that he recognized that this was a prophecy. And then he went with him to the Kaisel. Netanyahu was not a religious person. He was not anti-religious. And the Rebbe tried to work with him and bring out the best in him. And this time, Netanyahu really shined, because he went to the Kaisel, he put on a yarmulke, and he put on a talit, and he davened, together with the Argentinian president, and he put a note in the Kaisel. In the Kotel, he put a note, Siyata Deshmaya, with the help of God. Now, he's a secular person, and he mentions this is going to be with the help of God. And he mentioned the beautiful prophecy, the prophecy of Bilam. That's also a beautiful prophecy of Bilam. And what is that prophecy? It says, Am kilovi yokum, uch'ari yisnasa, a nation will stand up like a lion. And he wrote that settle as a blessing, that God should fulfill this blessing now. So everything here is really coming together in an incredible way. The prophecy that that Trump has to be, in a way, annoying to Israel, because it says V'inu Aver. He has to oppress Aver, which is the Ivrim, which is the Jews. So Trump has to do stupid things that's not in Israel's interest, by really building up Qatar and Turkey and all the Islamic world, and saying how great they are and how strong they are and how powerful and how much money they give him and how great they are for America, and really excluding Israel and not even mentioning Israel and not even visiting Israel, and doing all different kinds of stuff to oppress Israel, because that's what it says in Ezekiel. That's his role. He's the last manifestation. So I want to explain something very, very interesting. When we talk about Esav, there's a lot of different parts to Esav. So Esav, there's if you look in Genesis, in chapter 27, verse 41. So after Yaakov took the blessings, Esav was furious at him, and Esav said that as soon as my father, he didn't want to hurt his father. He had a lot of respect for his father. That's one of the things that our sages are actually compliment Esau for his high level of kibbud av, of respecting his father. But as soon as my father dies, I'm going to kill Yaakov. So that's the ugliest part of Esau, the Amalek, which is the evil essence of Esau. I'm going to kill Yaakov. I can't take it. He took the blessings. So that's the Esau in chapter 27. And then there is the Esau in chapter 32, which was 20 years later, after Yaakov went to Haran, and he built up a family, and to Lavan, and he built up a family, and he had a lot of children. And now he's coming back to the land of Israel, and he's going to visit his father, and he meets Esau, and he bows down to Esau, and he gives him an enormous amount of gifts, and he tells him, "You're my master," and Esav gives him a big hug and a kiss. And this is, in chapter 32, verse 4. So this is a different Esav. Here, Esav is loving his brother, and he's showing true love to his brother. And he says, what can I do? I want to help you. You want to come? I'll take care of you. You can come with me back to where I live, and I'll treat you royally. I could give you guards to help you, to protect you in the land of Israel. It's a dangerous place over here, and he's offering help, and he's showing him real love. So there's two parts to Esav. There's this good part, and then when he feels that Yaakov is taking something away from him, then the bad part emerges. So we see something very interesting with Trump. Trump is by far the best manifestation of Esav. He tells Jewish people, "I want to help you," and he hugs them, and he says, "I want to protect you, and I'm going to do what I can. You can have all the arms you want, all the weapons you want." Biden severely restricted it, and all the American presidents before him were much worse than Eretz Yisrael. And he, by far, the best president that the Jews ever had.
Hey, if you've been trying to remove this from your life so that you can be
This is the good Esav. This is the Esav that's hugging and kissing Yaakov. But he did it because he realized Yaakov wasn't a threat to him. Yaakov wasn't taking anything away from him. He just wanted to protect his younger brother. So he had normal instincts of an older brother to younger brother. Let me take care of you, my younger brother. But as soon as Yaakov wanted to take something from him, he felt that the blessings belonged to him. He was ready to kill him. So there's these two parts of Esav. So when it comes to Trump, you have to realize that he'll do it. He likes Israel and he likes Jews and he's a good person and he wants to protect, the Jewish people, but not when it's going to be at his cost. The bottom line is he wants America to be very rich. He likes money. He wants America to have money, and the Gulf states, have an enormous amount of money that they want to invest, close to $2 trillion, and that means a lot to him. So if showing them, is creating alliances with them and showing his respect to them is going to be good for America. If it's not good for Israel, so in that case, so there's an incredible prophecy that I want to end with, and that is that this really had to happen before Mashiach comes, because the Gemara in Avodah Zarah, in Tractate Avodah Zarah, page 2b, the Talmud says that when Mashiach comes, or right before Mashiach comes, Esav is going to say, the Mashiach comes, there's going to be one king. He's going to be the king of the whole world. There's not going to be any countries, any government. There's one king who controls everything. Every single country in the world is basically just a province. There are no presidents, there are no governments. There could be mayors, governors, but there's one federal government, we'll call it, and that's Israel, and that's controlled by Mashiach, together with the Sanhedrin, and they control everything, and all the other countries are under Israel. And they control Israel just like Trump controls America, for example. And if he wants to send the National Guard or the Marines into LA, he does what he wants. So Israel will control the world. The other countries will be basically like states, but the overarching and overall control of the whole world is Mashiach. And Esav says, why can't we both? Why can't we share? I'm a good person. I'll work together with Israel. Why do we have to take away my leadership? Why do you have to take away my control of my country? I'm a good person. And the Gemara, I don't want to go into it's getting very long now, but read the Gemara yourself. It's fascinating. And he says, I'm good to the Jews, and you know that I'm it's almost like paraphrasing Trump. The Talmud uses different words, but it's talking about a different era and different kinds of things. But basically, he's saying, I'm so good to the Jews, and so why can't I retain my power? Trump likes power. And the Talmud says, you don't really deserve to be in power, because even though you were good to the Jews in certain ways, but when it came to your own needs, you were selfish and you were self-centered. So when it came to what was good for America, you don't want to start up with Iran because you're going to upset the Gulf states, and because they're afraid of Iran. You don't want to destroy the Houthis because you're going to upset the Muslims, because the Muslims in Saudi Arabia are fanatics also. I mean, I don't know what's going through MBS, what he's thinking, but most of the people in Saudi Arabia are anti-Israel and anti-Semites and stuff like that. So Trump is basically, if it doesn't cost him anything, because he couldn't care less about the Palestinians. It means nothing to him. So he tells Israel, just get rid of them, take over Gaza, let's build it up, and we'll make a lot of money over there. He couldn't care less about them. The Palestinians have the money, he couldn't care less about them. So he knows also that Saudi Arabia couldn't care less. Nobody cares about them. They're just using the Palestinians as an excuse to fight Israel. But what he does care is that he wants to be in good graces with the Gulf states. So therefore, what Trump has to do is he has to, when it comes to his own personal needs. So when Esav feels threatened by Yaakov, for example, it says 50 years later, after this event that he hugged him and kissed him, when Yaakov died and he was brought down to be buried in the Maras HaMachpelah in Hebron, So what happened was, the Talmud has a whole story. What happened, that we have a tradition. What happened is that Esav came and he said, I'm not going to let you bury Jacob there, because there were two plots left. Me and my brother Yaakov, we inherit everything from our father, let's say 50-50, and there's two plots left. And one of them, Yaakov already took for his wife Leah. She's buried there, and now one is left for me, so he didn't let. So they had a whole fight, and they ended up, they had to, the children of Yaakov had to kill Esav, and they knocked off his head, and it went into the Maran Machpelah, and his head is buried over there next to his father Isaac, which means that part of Esav is very good. He has a heart that's very, very, when it comes to his own needs, and when it comes to his own desires and his own lust for power and for money, he doesn't belong to Maran Machpelah. Then he's Esav. But when he's not, when his desires of a heart are not confusing his mind, then he knows what to do. So his head is in the Maran Machpelah, because his head is in the right place, just his heart is not. See, so he tried to stop it, because he's nice to Yaakov as long as Yaakov is not taking anything away from him. Here he felt he's taking away his right to be next to his father in the Maran Machpelah. So this is exactly what Trump is. He's good to Israel as long as it doesn't affect him. So just let's just end off this thing. We're getting very long, but I believe that, thanks to the brachos of the Rebbe that he gave Netanyahu. Netanyahu really came through this time. He made tons of mistakes. With Oslo, he supported Oslo. He supported the disengagement, and he hugged and he shook hands with Arafat and with Abbas, and he facilitated the buildup of Hamas. And he made one mistake after the other, compromise after compromise, and the mistakes caused a lot of pain and suffering and death to the Jews of Israel. But at the end of the day, when he had to do this last thing before Mashiach comes, as a proxy of America, you have to destroy Iran to fulfill that prophecy. In Yuma, the Rebbe's bracha that was given to him in 1988, the Rebbe came back to him through his shliach, the president of Argentina, this righteous Gentile, Javier. And he showed him the picture, and he remembered him, and it came back to him, and the Rebbe's blessing engulfed him and brought out the goodness in him and the power of his soul. And he went to the Kosel, and he davened, and he thanked Hashem. This is a beautiful fulfillment of the Rebbe's prophecies and of all the prophecies in the Talmud, and nothing else has to be done. I strongly encourage you, don't waste another minute. Spend every minute of your time doing great deeds, learning Torah, doing mitzvahs, encouraging other Jews to do Torah and mitzvahs. If you're a non-Jew and listening to this, you have your mitzvahs to do, charity, goodness, support Israel, support God. Don't go into the crazy bishagasin of the left and the woke bishagoyim. Do what's right, do what's moral, build a family, devote yourself to your wife and your kids. Should be upstanding, moral people, and the Jews and the non-Jews should speedily welcome Mashiach when all our suffering will be over, and we'll see the glory of Hashem. Good Shabbos.
Nice.
So I just wanted to just quickly, I don't agree with his with the way he analyzes Trump as a person.
Yeah.
Trump doesn't need Gulf money.
I agree.
America doesn't need Gulf money because we have way more oil than they could ever dream of, and Trump is going to use our own oil. And there's nothing he needs to. He doesn't need the Gulf states. I think Trump is one aspect of Trump that he didn't analyze is that Trump was a great Esav.
Yeah, it was a great hunter.
Great hunter before God. So what does that mean on a deeper level? He hunted people with his words, with his mouth. He was able to go out there and convince anybody of anything. Esav was the ultimate deal maker.
Of course,
you gotta make a deal. Let's make deal. Deal. Everything has to be a deal.
Right.
Deal. Sign the deal.
He relished in his power of getting into people's minds and being able to manipulate them and events.
That's why Trump is obsessed with this. It's not that he's going against Israel. He's obsessed. He wants to see. Listen, I was thinking about this in this way. Reagan. And here's, by the way, the difference between what's called a rational actor or rational state and an irrational one. Reagan was able to dismantle the Soviet Union without firing a shot. Here's the problem. The problem is, Iran is not a rational state, meaning they want to get the nuclear weapons for what? to bring the Mahdi, right? To bring their version of whatever.
Yeah, Khomeini said many times, he goes, Iran is not important, Islam is important.
Yeah.
Iran could go, could be
Go up in
used.
smoke. It can go up in smoke as long as the Mahdi comes, right? Soviet Union had nuclear weapons. They weren't trying to bring the Mahdi. They just had nuclear weapons, and they had mutually assured destruction.
Let's put it this way. You know that song by Sting?
Yeah.
I wanted to say, that song by Sting, and what came was, that Sing? What?
Sing.
Anyway, yeah. The song by Sting, I hope the Russians love their children too. I don't know if that's the name of the song.
Yeah.
But that was the primary lyric.
Yeah.
I hope the Russians love their children.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you could write that about Russia because it turns out the Russians love their children.
Yeah.
But he's not going to write that song about Iran.
Well, the Ayatollah does not love anybody's children.
Right. The Ayatollah regime.
Yeah. Oh, Frank just got bye-bye. I think by his son. What happened? So we were just saying the Ayatollah doesn't love anybody, and he's willing to sacrifice his whole country. And there's no mutually assured destruction concept with the Iranian regime. There was with Soviet Union, and you cannot. Oh, here goes Frank. Frank, we could finish this via the phone.
My computer died.
Oh, wonderful! I figured. I thought maybe Rafu stepped on something.
No.
We can finish it via the.
A bath in the sink.
Oh.
But I guess maybe we'll take that as
the sign.
Dramatic ending.
Yes. I was just telling the folks at home that there's no mutually assured destruction concept with Iran, and there was with Soviet Union.
They want to be destructed.
Yeah. So that's
they want to be really destructed.
Yeah. And then the Mahdi can come.
See what happens. I hope that Rabbi Weisberg's lecture when it comes through in the recording is louder and to be made louder when people are listening.
Yeah. It was a very quiet recording for whatever reason.
Yeah.
All right, folks.
All right.
B'ezrat Hashem, everything should be resolved very soon, and Mashiach should arrive.
Amen.
All right. Good Shabbos, and yeah. Later.